And when the wind is right, you can't catch a smell from that front porch of that cabin on the hill. There is a cabin on the hill where Grandma threw away her pills. Just a little shine, make her feel real fine. And you know that son of hers give her a deal. It's all free to that cabin on the hill. Mama, when you see Rock City, you might think you've seen it all. But there's a place that's twice as pretty. If you want to find a thrill, I promise you, you will. Come on up to that cabin on the hill. Dibby-dibby-dee, dibby-dee. Dibby-dibby-dee. Uncle Rob took off for Hollywood. He said, son, come on, you know you should. They've got all them stars driving big fancy cars. I said, I bet they ain't got one single still. I'll just stay here in my cabin on the hill. Mama, when you see Rock City, you might think you've seen it all. You might place that's twice as pretty. If you want to find a thrill, I promise you, you will. Come on up to that cabin on the hill.
Well, now, let's talk Game Pass. Welcome to Gabbin' Games. This is a very special version of Gabbin' Games today. Tomorrow is a proper show. Today we're going to focus mostly on one topic, unless there's some, amazing breaking news. But that was Sugarcane Jane, who is from my home state of Alabama. That is, listen, here's what I'll tell you something. So that band is led by Anthony Crawford, who's been in the music business forever, played with Steve Winwood, played with Neil Young. And he's my brother-in-law's brother. And he is absolutely out of his mind when it comes to conservative views, but he sure can make music and play the guitar. So that is, they are Trump supporters. They are. Oh, they are. Fuck you, Mr. K. Anyway, the point is, welcome to Gabbin' Games. So we're going to talk about Xbox today. Let me bring everybody up to speed. First off, thank you for being here. Let me bring everybody up to speed on kind of why this is worth talking about today and why it's making some news. Give me a few minutes to just sort of ramble, and then we'll jump right into your thoughts and discussions. This has been really dominating a lot of the Twitter sphere as of late, where I spend a lot of my time. It's also been sort of seeping out into the actual news in regards to places like Kotaku saying, oh no, everyone's canceling Game Pass. Okay, so how do we start this? All right. My assumption is the reason you've had, and I don't think there's any evidence to show there's an exodus from Game Pass, but we know that two high profile within the business folks have tweeted publicly that they're like, hey, I'm done for now. I'll come back later, but I'm done for now, right? The first one is our pal of the show, good sir Gene Park. I'll show you the tweet on the TV screen there. He says, I'm unsubscribing to Xbox Game Pass for the first time ever. Gotta admit to myself, I barely use it and barely have use for it now. I'll be back, but for now, there's no point. All right, that's Gene. He is one of the few real journalists in video game journalism. He writes for the Washington Post. And then there is Tony Polanco, who follows this stream. I don't know him. I've never spoken with him. I want to say he's a journalist as well. Obviously, no offense to Tony, but not of the high level of regard of the Washington Post. I think he writes for Tom's Guide, which is no small thing. So he also says, I'm unsubbing from Gamepass. The service is great, but there aren't any AAA exclusives to compel me to stay. I'll be back when the titles start dropping. Okay, well, so both of these tweets, and I've noticed more Gene's, but certainly Tony's as well, caused a number of people to really dogpile on these guys. One of the funniest things I've seen people writing about is they think this is about the FTC. If you don't know, the FTC, I'm trying to think when they did it. There was a lawsuit. I want to say Microsoft was mentioned. This was like this was like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. And you probably remember this, where a lot of YouTubers were doing things and like promoting things for Xbox and whatnot. And then the FTC was like, hey man, that's not cool. You have to follow these rules to let people know this is an advertisement. Even though you may go off and pay some influencer, the audience deserves to know that. Okay, great. Recently, as of maybe as recent as last week, the FTC revealed the fact that they're going to make those laws more, or those requirements more stringent. They're going to get a little bit more buttoned down about YouTubers, influencers, whatever. So people, and I think it makes great sense, of course, understand when somebody's telling you something and they're shilling, and when they're telling you something and they are being genuine. Okay. I wish they could do that for politicians, but I guess not so much. But anyway, yes. So that's what's happening. And so first off, let's dispel with that idiocy. I've got people, here's a guy on my Twitter feed who says, so all these Twitter influencers suddenly unsubbing from this at the same damn time, and this has nothing to do with the FTC news. Like there's this conspiracy going around that, Gene Park, a journalist of as I said, of great esteem, yeah, he's so shallow and so petty and so crooked that he is going to write for the Washington Post and cover video games and not tell you he's taking a check from Microsoft. I mean, come on. People are just fucking morons. And let's on the off weirdo chance assume this was true. Let's assume that Gene Park did take a check from Microsoft. And now because the FTC is coming along, he doesn't want to do that anymore. Well, the FTC new rules are not in place. It may be 6 months, a year. You know how slow government moves. It isn't happening now. So even if, which he isn't, Gene was taking a check, he could get another check for 6 more months, 12 more months. So let's just get that off unless you've got some evidence that I don't have, which I would love to have. Let's not even, bring it up if you want, but it's lunacy. Okay. So then Kotaku, though, writes this story today. A drought of AAA games has spurred some to unsub from Microsoft Games on Demand service for now. And they intentionally used a inflammatory title after years of hype. The Xbox Game Pass burnout is here. And then Xbox Game Pass official account kind of responded back with something along the lines of, tell me you only play AAA games without telling me you play AAA games, right? And some people were like, hey, that's AAA shaming. I'm like, really? That's a thing? But anyway, so that's going on. And then this is once again kind of churned up the more important conversation. Oh, and there was one more thing. Now listen, you got to help me out here. It's Ed Fries or Freeze. It's spelled like fries, Fries, but I think people say freeze. But this is the guy who used to run software development on Xbox. And he also was really, if you ever watch that great documentary about the making of Crimson Skies, which is a great Xbox game, he really was the guy that hung in there and put that thing together. So he did an interview podcast this week, and I just want to read you some of the choice bits that he said. And this kind of really sort of, I think, was the final straw, and then people just started going a little ape shit on the Twitter. Here's what he said. The one thing Xbox is doing, his former company, that makes me nervous is Game Pass. He says, Game Pass scares me because there's a somewhat analogous thing called Spotify that was created for the music business. When Spotify took off, it destroyed the music business. It literally cut the annual revenue of the business in half, he says. It's made it so people just don't buy songs anymore. And then he goes into talking about how iPhone's about to not even sell $1.29 songs anymore because no one's buying them. He continues, so we have to be careful we don't create the same system in games business. These markets are more fragile than people realize. I saw the games industry destroy itself in the early 80s. I saw the education software business destroy itself in the mid-90s. They literally destroyed a multi-billion-dollar market in a few years. So Game Pass makes me nervous. As a customer, I love it. I love Spotify as a customer. I have all the songs I'd ever want. It's a great deal as a customer, but it isn't necessarily great for the business. It says, at some point it tipped and everything had to be on Spotify. The number of games that are on Game Pass is still tiny, and there are a lot of games. 200 games a week come out on Steam, and more than that come out on mobile. So he's kind of wondering how much of it will actually be analogous. And then you've got a bunch of music execs saying, well, that's not really true. Spotify didn't cut the business in half. Piracy did, the editor of Music Business Worldwide. Spotify cloud-based made it legal, and they're saying the music business is actually up right now 73% since the launch of Spotify, whatever. Okay, so all this is kind of swimming around, and I wanted to talk about it because there's just a number, like I come to every discussion with an open mind. I am a fan of Game Pass. I have subscribed and I've never stopped subscribing. And unless the service gets bad, I have no intention of unsubscribing. I am a fan of it. But, and let me tell you my position. My position is I think there are 4 people in this argument against Game Pass, because there's a very vocal group, majority, minority, who knows. One of them are trolls, fuck them. What are you gonna, right? Who cares? One of the groups are just absolute blind fanboys. Who cares? I mean, you can't reach these people. They're not really interested in having a real conversation. Fuck them. The 2 that are interesting to me and worth discussing are the ones that say this is hurting games. This is hurting the business. That's honestly the one that really concerns me the most, and why I'm always like, well, I don't really see what you're saying, so let's have that conversation. So if you're here just to say it's shit, it's like, whatever. I mean, why even have the discussion? I'll bring it up right now just to show you. Again, and I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I'm saying that if you look at your screen and you literally think what you see on your screen right here is a bunch of shit games, then I'll tell you 2 things. You clearly only, and again, you've got AAA, but they're old. I'm not going to sit here and go, look, The Evil Within. Yeah, it came out 7 years ago. Wolfenstein's. I mean, it's great value. But I think most people who are into Game Pass are excited for a couple of reasons. One is that the day and date of the AAA stuff when it starts dropping. I've continuously, just yelled from the rooftops at Phil Spencer and his lack of management ability to get their shit together. But the plan is a brilliant fucking plan, okay? The plan is like America's plan to win. This is a terrible thing I'm about to say. It's like America's plan to win World War II. It's a great plan. It's going to work. Let's give it to Helen Keller. Wow, Jaffe, you've just managed to insult the Japanese who lost hundreds of thousands of lives because of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and suggesting that Helen Keller, that's very ableist, but she couldn't fly the Enola Gay. Come on, she couldn't do it because she's blind and she can't hear anything. But the point of it is that, it's a great plan. So far, they haven't executed. But regardless, though, people are excited about that. People are excited about when shit comes to Xbox that is AAA or AA. And then people like me who love games up and down the financial spectrum are thrilled with the day 1 drops and the month 1 drops of games that are anywhere from AA to indie games. And it's okay if you don't like those. I'm not here to convince you. Whatever. Right? If all you care about is AAA, great. Then so far, if all you care about is AAA, this is not the service for you. People have been sort of joking and calling it Game Pass, Indie Pass, but that's not accurate. That's not inaccurate. The other thing that it also does is I think it hurts Sony, and I think maybe Sony fans, which again, whatever, get both boxes. If when they start coming out with Call of Duty day and date, and PlayStation fans are going to have to pay $70, $60. Of course it's shitty. Of course you feel shitty. But I mean, that's kind of a different, it's a different conversation then at that point. But anyway, okay, so do with that what you will. So I want to talk, though, about the thing I hear. So listen to this. This is a guy named Jeremiah, and then I'll get to the chat. I'm also going to turn on the red phone so you can call on the Discord. You can also chat with me. I'll look at the chat from time to time. I'll read all the super chats, and of course you can call on your mobile phone as well when I turn that red phone on in just a couple of seconds, okay? I just want to read you a couple of these choice tweets to give you an idea of kind of which way the wind is blowing amongst some of these folks. This is a guy named Jeremiah at Forget Me Not. He says, all Game Pass does is make people not want to pay for shit. It will just be a race to the bottom. No matter how much the game costs, no matter how good the game might be, games that aren't in Game Pass or a similar service will be seen as not worth it. And I wrote back and I said, but so what? And this guy Switch, who's a member of our community, says, but so what? Yearly game revenue could be cut in half, like what happened to the music business at Spotify. People could play games to try them out instead of actually beating them. It will change how developers make games. And to that I say good. The music business didn't die, right? What ended up happening to the music business is you had a number of artists directly reach out to their fans through things like Patreon or just selling their music directly through their website. You've had a number of artists that have continued to be massive, mostly because of their tours, but there have been some really, well-selling albums. But yeah, the industry changes. It didn't kill music. People who want to make music, people who want to make movies, people who want to make games aren't going anywhere. So yeah, you may end up, here's what you may end up losing. You are going to get more and more safe cookie cutter AAA games. But frankly, that's been happening anyway. You can't lay that at the feet of Game Pass. This was happening 11, 12, 13 years ago. As these budgets have gone up, go to E3, man. Go to E3 now and compare it, or last year, whenever it was last, and compare it to E3 from 10 years ago, 1995 when it started. The amount of games on the show floor, you couldn't see it all. And now it's anemic. So this has nothing to do with Game Pass. This has everything to do with the fact that there's an audience out there that is hungry for AAA. And AAA, by their own definition, by their own demand, in order to remain exciting to that group of an audience, and they're a meaningful slice of the pie, the budgets have to go up to deliver what they care about, which is primarily production value, graphics, animation, special effects, the wow of it all. Well, the wow of it all is not getting any cheaper. And so this is not a Game Pass issue. It might accelerate the infrequency of these games being made, but that was happening anyway. So I want to have this discussion today because I want people to explain to me what I'm missing, because I see this excuse a lot. The other one I see, it's the last thing I'll say, that I'm going to go right to the chat, I promise. The other one I see is, well, it's not good for game developers. It's not respecting the game developers. That one's weird to me. I really do think some of these people, I know this is dumb to say. If you're watching this show, you're not that dumb, but maybe if you're listening down the road, you are dumb. Some of these people literally think they wake up, they're developers, and it's like, oh shit, our game's on Game Pass. Like it's like Microsoft just takes it and puts it up there. You negotiate terms, and the more valuable your product is, the better terms that you get. There are a large number of stats to suggest that games on Game Pass can help with selling the actual real game, but who cares, even if it doesn't? These are not captive developers. They can say yes or no. So the idea that, I care about the developer, right? Now here's a developer that posted this today. Somebody sent me this. This is a guy from Dynamic Voltage Games. They make Orphan of the Machine. Let's take a quick look at Orphan of the Machine. I don't know what it is. My guess is whatever. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I love indie games, but Orphan of the Machine. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe it's a great looking game. I don't fucking know. Okay, this is Orphan of the Machine. It kind of looks like Eco, right? I guess. Eco and Metroid inspire Orphan of the Machine. Okay, kind of cool. I'd play it. I'm interested in it. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm down for a game like that, man. So this is what the guy says. He says, I think one of the biggest problems indie developers are going to face on Microsoft's console is Game Pass. Right now, it's for $2 for 2 months. Did anyone try to release a game this summer get a warning about that? Nope, it just happened. So when I released a $20 game on Game Pass, I not only have to compete with other great indie titles, but I also have to compete against Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Come, Gears of War 5, and hundreds of other games, which you can have for 1/10 of what my game cost. A rep from Microsoft said that the interest in Game Pass from developers has been huge. I suppose this is what happens when you fear trying to compete against it, knowing that it may crush your sales. Look, it's great for consumers and it's great for Microsoft, he continues, but indie devs who aren't invested might find, or invited, might find selling their games on the platform very difficult down the road. I don't care. It's not my problem. I don't mean that disrespectfully to this guy. I just said the game looks pretty good. I don't care. Like, if for whatever reason, and this applies to music, this applies to movies, this applies to everything. You know, if your game can't compete in the market and you can't find a way to bring what you think is a worthy title to the attention of people in some kind of alternative market so it can compete, that's your failing. It's like I tell my kids get upset because Bernie Sanders didn't win the presidency or the nomination. And I'm like, that's Bernie's fault. And they're like, how is it Bernie's fault? We love Bernie. I'm like, I love Bernie too, but he's a shit politician. And they're like, no, he's not. He's got all these great ideas. I said, yeah, but that's not what it means only to be a politician, is to have great ideas. You have to know how to play the game. You have to know how to get your message out there. You have to know how to counter the oppositional research to you, all these things. He's a shitty politician, or he would have basically, gotten the nomination at least once, right? So these things easily fall into the category of, this is not my problem. This is not my fucking problem. This guy, orphan of the machine, isn't able to get the traction he wants for his game. Then be better. Then work with it. The game industry right now is so rich with variety and innovation and cool ideas if you play, as I say, up and down the budgetary spectrum. If all you're doing is playing $120 million AAA games, sure, you might be going, hey, these all play the same. Well, they cost more because people who only play AAA demand a certain budget, and that's where we're at. So, but these people who say, oh, I care about the developer. Well, if you really cared about the developer, you know what you would do? Like, this would be a suite of actions you had. Action number one, okay, fine, don't do Game Pass, whatever. Delay the inevitable, support a weaker developer who's not able to compete, but sure, don't do Game Pass. You would also never buy a game that has been done with crunch, or from a company that has bad working practices that you oppose. You would have been staunchly opposed back in the day to used game sales, which were terrible for game developers and publishers, and which accelerated the move from publishers to digital. And you would you'd stop watching streamers who stream single player video games, other than maybe for 15 or 20 minutes to ask yourself, do I like this enough to buy it? But a lot of people have said that, single player games are harder now because people stream them and they have no reason to buy it. How about this? If you really want to sell somebody on the idea that you care about the game developers, why don't you check at least a couple of those boxes first, and then you can get to Game Pass. But until then, it either sounds like you don't know how to construct a decent argument, and or that's not really the real problem. The real problem is you don't like Game Pass because it threatens your ecosystem of PlayStation, and that bothers you. Or you feel buyer's remorse about your purchase when you know good and well once Game Pass, if it does, starts dropping these AAA games day one, you know you're going to have to figure out a way to get yourself an Xbox or at least a subscription to Game Pass. So there you go. That's my take. I'm going to go... I am in the call-in room waiting. I'm also going to turn on the phone, and I'm going to go to the chat. So hang on a second. The red phone, there it is right now. You can call in on your cell phone, 949-954-0569. While we're waiting for our first couple of calls, I will go directly to the live chat and see what you knuckleheads are talking about. Okay. Eternal says, ugh. Chat deteriorating. Chat is breaking down. into console warfare again. That's all these streamers seem to lead to when you mention either subservice or console. Well, right, like I said, for me, the console war thing doesn't interest me. If you're such a child that what you care about is that, you can have an opinion, of course, but you're not really valuable to the conversation. Hey, it's Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, this is Matt. Just wanted to throw in my discussion about Gamepass and how
Yes.
I feel about it.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so how I feel about Gamepass, and this is just me because I'm old school. I've been gaming for a very, very long time. I would never personally see myself using it. I can understand the benefit of it as to why some people will use it, because it's great for people who are maybe on a budget. They don't have a very good income. Just all sorts of other stuff.
Well,
But-
I hear that a lot, and I think it's interesting because I'm certainly not on a budget. I buy what I want when I want it, and I still buy a lot of games mostly off Steam. But it's less about, for me, the budget and more about the curation and cultivation of new shit every couple of days. Like, I would never go out and buy Sniper, what is this thing coming out called tomorrow? The Sniper number 5 from whoever the fuck makes it. It's a medium-sized franchise, but it's coming out tomorrow. It's a sniper game. What is that fucking thing called? But anyway, I would never go out and buy it. Sniper Elite 5, right now, dog. I would, not because I don't like it, because I'm like, whatever, unless I hear it's amazing. It's more about stuff like that. It's more about just like, oh, it's a sense of discovery that if you love the medium, at least in the way I love the medium, it's bringing you new shit all the time. And that's exciting to me.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, I can understand why, but like for me, I'm just so traditional and old school. It's like if I really want something, I'll just pay full price for it. And then if I regret that decision, then I'll just eat it. Like, for instance, I bought Cyberpunk at full price when it first came out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was a buggy, glitchy mess, and it crashed a whole lot. But I managed to beat the game.
Okay.
Now, after I beat the game, was it like 10-pound shit in a 5-pound bag? Not for me personally, because it's like, yeah, the game crashed on me and stuff, but like, was it so horrendous, like it just ruined my day? I mean, I still enjoyed it, and then whenever the next gen version came out, I played through a second playthrough of it, and it was a lot better.
Yeah, I played the new Cyberpunk once it got fixed up, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, like, I can see the benefit of Game Pass, but as someone who's been gaming for a long time and just been collecting things for a long time, like vinyl, cassette, I still collect movies, and I still pay full price for stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm just a different demographic.
Well,
let me
ask you this, how old are you?
I'm 35.
See, I wonder if there's a bit of a generational thing going on where, anybody under the age of like 20 that was sort of born with the internet and born with digital and music and all that, I wonder if they have this same connection to not wanting to embrace something like Game Pass. But what's interesting about you, though, is you say, like, you go, look, this is just what I like. And that's a view I can respect. I'm like, here's a guy who likes to collect. He likes to own. Cool. But so much of the conversation around this is it's bad for the industry. It's terrible. It's going to collapse the industry. It's just all this stuff that's not about, I just don't particularly like the change that's happening. Why do you think you're able to express it in a more just like, oh, okay, yeah, just like I have friends who still only want to buy records because that's what they love, but they're not morons. They don't walk around thinking, digital music is bad.
Yeah, I think it's just all about perspective and how, like, far up you have your head up your own ass, basically. It's like, to me, it's like, okay, if people want to use Game Pass, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that I would never use it. Like, if I eventually get, like, a Series X down the road, because I got to switch into PS5 and and a somewhat okay gaming PC. I use my PC mostly to play like old Sierra games.
Mhm.
I know that sounds.
No,
I mean, I can see myself giving it a go and be like, oh, okay, cool, you
Right.
know, and then maybe I would be more invested to it.
do you have Netflix or HBO Max or any of that stuff?
But like at the end of the day, like I don't see why people are making such a big deal about Game Pass. It's like at the end of the day, these companies are going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, and you can either
Regardless.
support them or not. And if enough people believe like you, then it'll collapse and it won't happen. But I have a feeling this is the future. So, all right, man, I appreciate the call. Thanks, buddy.
No, you're welcome. Have a good one, man.
You too, sir. Danklord says all you can eat buffets don't serve wagyu. Yeah, they're both restaurants, but it's different. I guess you're talking about maybe the high quality of food is kind of what you're perhaps talking about. Is somebody actually asking me what the call-in number is? Hey, it's Jeffy.
Hey, Jeffy, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I just have some thoughts about the whole Game Pass thing.
Okay.
Just to clarify, I own both the PlayStation 5 and the Series X.
Okay.
I enjoy paying for my games. I don't have a problem buying everything that looks good that comes out. I can pay for it, but my one issue with Game Pass is it's not about the like I feel for the devs or I feel for like how well the games will sell if they're on Game Pass. It's just more about the quality of the game. You can't have. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, give me an example. What are you seeing on Xbox? That like, are you saying you don't feel you've seen quality games on Game Pass?
No, absolutely not. But what I'm saying is, I mean, obviously, right now they have the games in the pipeline, so it's easier to like slot them into Game Pass. That makes perfect sense. You're going to have great games, but when I say like absolutely great, amazing games, you have games from PlayStation. You have like Insomniac Spider-Man. You have Horizon Forbidden West. I just don't feel like it'll be a great compromise to have. You can't have quantity and have quality. You have to choose one or the other. That's just how I feel about it.
But that doesn't make any sense. That would make sense if all of Xbox games on Game Pass were only made by first-party studios. I mean, but that's like suggesting that I don't know if you saw it, but PlayStation today in Hong Kong launched their new 3 PlayStation Plus tiers, and they released all the games that are coming out. It's a more robust list than what leaked last week. I mean, that's a lot of those are quality and a lot of those are quantity, right? I mean, I don't, you're not talking about resources being taken away from Xbox first party to put, Loot River on Game Pass. So what does quantity have to do with quality in that regard?
I just feel like it feels good right now, but it just doesn't feel like you can get the best of the best day one on Game Pass and just not have some kind of compromise. Like, it just sounds so good to be true for me. Like, I'm subscribed to Game Pass right now. I've been subscribed for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's just like I see the great games. Like, I played Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Amazing game. Like, it turned out to be one of the best games I've played in the last 5 years, which is insane because it got almost no recognition, which is really sad.
Yep.
But it allows you to discover games that fly under the radar. But I also like to enjoy those kind of games and the best of the best that the platform can offer. And I just don't feel like you can have both of them. Like, it feels good now, but I'm talking about like in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Like, how is it going to shape up?
Well, who knows? I mean, who knows how anything's going to shape up? Who knows? You're not wrong, but if it shapes up poorly, people will reject it. But right now, it's like you say, there's a lot of great quality on there. What I think you're absolutely right about, and maybe people just choose not to or struggle to articulate, is the idea of, to some people, the only valid form of a video game are AAA video games. Like, there was a poll, I don't know if you saw it, if you go over to NeoGAF, and somebody did a poll saying, if Sony and Microsoft were to focus their next console on innovation and game design and not worry about graphics, would you still game? And about 50% people said, yeah, of course. But 50% of the other half were like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people for who games is just that big budget production value thing. And sure, I can understand how they don't want Game Pass, but Game Pass right now really isn't for them. I mean, Game Pass is it might become for them if Microsoft can start dropping regular, big games. But right now, yeah, if that's what you love, I wouldn't promote Game Pass. I wouldn't support it. I'd go, no, go to PlayStation. You don't want to be on Game Pass.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yep. After the deal with Activision, Game Pass will be flooded with games, says Dave D. Yeah, it will. I mean, it absolutely 100% will. Sharif, let me know if you wanted to come into the call there, buddy. And it's going to be amazing. But right now, it's not. Right now, it's not amazing. Right now, it is amazing for people like me. But if you love the big ticket shit, yeah, just don't sub to it. But it's not destroying the industry. Hey, it's Jaffe.
Hey, David, it's my name's Nick. In listening to the discussion, I had a couple of thoughts about Game Pass myself. And
sure.
Just to give you a background on me, I'm kind of in the same position as you, where it's like, if I want a game, I can buy it. I'm in that financial space in my life. I'm 42 years old, been playing games since I was like single digit or whatever. I have a badass gamer PC that I built. I got all the consoles, all that stuff. I've been subscribed to Game Pass myself since the service dropped. To me, it has seemed like nothing but the best value out there, both when it comes to the idea of getting, Microsoft and now it seems even EA AAA games on day one, but also this swath of other, whether it's third party or indie titles and stuff that you maybe, the normal company line that you might not have, that might have flown under the radar or what have you, might have seen on a post on a forum thread somewhere, right?
Right.
But and just to give like an example of that, right? There's a game that Annapurna published called The Artful Escape. Have you played it or seen it before?
Yeah. That's the guy with the guitar and the rock opera thing.
Exactly. Now, the only reason I even knew that game existed, for instance, you can get it $15 or what have you on Game Pass and on Steam. Okay. The only reason I even knew that game existed was because PAX South, back when it was still part of the PAX, convention scene up until this a year ago, whenever it came to San Antonio, I got the opportunity to see it at Annapurna's booth. And amazing production, amazing game. This was like 3 years ago. This was like the year before 19, before the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
Would never have seen anything about that game or even wanted to keep it on my radar unless I had seen it at PAX. But there are so many people in the States, much less around the world, that don't have the opportunity to see stuff from a developer when they're just going out there to the public to show off their wares, that honestly, I didn't see anything about The Artful Escape again until the week after it came out. I didn't even realize it had come out yet until I just one day remembered, hey, I remember that game. I wonder if it ever came out. And I looked and like, holy crap, it's actually coming out on Game Pass next week.
Right.
And so I immediately bought it. I even though I knew I was going to get it for free, I loved everything that went into that game as far as just the art design and the music especially. Mm-hmm. But I loved the craft that was put in that game so much that, yeah, I was fine getting it free on Game Pass, but I wanted to throw down my money to make sure that the developer got something for it. And I also bought it on Steam so I could play it on my PC, but I had the wherewithal to have it on Xbox also, because besides of the fact of like everyone focuses on just the swath of games you can get for Game Pass, but also you get the ability to play them streaming if you got a tablet or phone that has a good connection, so you can take those games with you. I mean, not everyone's going to buy a Steam Deck to be able to play their Steam stuff.
Sure.
But all the stuff that's cross-platform.
I'm with you. I've enjoyed all that about my Xbox subscription or my Game Pass subscription. I love playing on the cloud. But what I will say is, I have Artful Escape up right now on the show, and I think the issue becomes like there's probably a percentage of people that are certainly vocal, maybe a meaningful number, that would look at this and tell you, "Oh, that's crap. Look at that crap little indie game." And I think, I mean, you know, the funny part to me has always been that in every other industry, the raw stuff or the underproduced stuff is the stuff that the real fans gravitate towards, right? It's the stuff that's produced like the Marvel movies or Taylor Swift or things that are like, you can just smell the focus test all over it, that become the things that most aficionados kind of mock and belittle. But it's absolutely flipped for a large or at least a vocal group in games where they look at something like this and they shit on it because it doesn't look like Horizon Forbidden West. What is that? I mean, how did the game business get so flipped, or the game audience get so flipped, that the edgy, unique, different artistic stuff is the stuff that these guys are shaming?
And see, that's a real interesting thing to bring up, because like the last two callers that called in, one of them brought up the idea that like, well, gosh, I don't know if I'll ever see anything like that quality on Game Pass, because like, you know, Insomniac's Spider-Man, it's like, okay, I get that, but I have a PlayStation 5 since launch too. I love Spider-Man Remastered, but it's one game. And Horizon Zero West, or the sequel anyway,
Forbidden West rather.
Yep. Yeah, it was fine, but it wasn't anywhere. It was just it wasn't as good as a sequel to like the first game would have been. It was just kind of like a retread that was a bit more pretty, and that's it. You know, PlayStation 5, for instance, I mean, not to bag on PlayStation, but the PS5 has a couple of first-party really great games, but it doesn't have. It almost doesn't have enough to warrant the purchase of the machine. Even here we are, almost 2 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've not jumped into the PlayStation ecosystem, or you've only dipped your toe in it, their new PlayStation Plus rollout is, I think, a great value if you haven't already played those games. But I would agree with you. I have my PlayStation 5. I play it more because that's what most people who come to my show have when I do gamer night. But I probably am 33% spread on PS5, Xbox, and Steam. Let me ask you one final thing, because I agree with a lot of what you said, but I don't agree with this. When you say you buy these games to support the developer, I will say that is never, even as a guy who was a developer for over 20 years, that has never made any real sense to me. And I can't think, unless you're talking about like a one-on-one relationship. If you really like this singer-songwriter and they stream their music once a week, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to throw some money in the hat. Okay, that's one thing. Yeah. But if you're talking about a game that's published by a gigantic company, not gigantic compared to Sony, but a gigantic, you know, media company like Annapurna, and the developer gets checks from Annapurna, the idea of like, I need to support the developer, I don't know. It kind of feels like such a strange thing that some gamers have taken on that responsibility. It's like I went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was a kid in the movie house 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, not because I wanted Spielberg to eat well, but because it was a product that I wanted.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from on that. I think and not realizing until after the fact that like how big Annapurna was and stuff like that, I was like, oh well, maybe they're not. Of course, they're not just a game thing; they're primarily movies and media in general, or what have you. I just thought it would be a good, in my mind, it was like a good vote, not to like saying, oh, I'm going to help them eat, but more like I'm going to show that like, hey, I'm willing to put my money down that there's interest in that, even though it's as small as my $15 maybe purchase might have been. And as even though I know for a fact that Game Pass developer or rather contributors do get a check or a cut or what have you from Xbox. They are not just saying, hey, man, we're going to put your stuff out on free. You're lucky if you get any sales as a derivative of that.
Exactly.
They cut them a check, so they're not going hungry. To me, it was just like, hey, this was such a unique game.
Yeah.
I thought, let me throw a vote towards them to say, you know what? It may not matter in the grand scheme of their income, obviously, but more that it's like showing Annapurna, hey, keep supporting shit like this because I think it's really hot.
Gotcha.
And it needs to be fostered.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your insight and your logic and your everybody who's called so far has been so calm about it. It's weird. You'd think the people on the internet are just full of shit because they act like the sky is fucking falling. All right, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you.
Decado says Game Pass has supplemented what I used to play and buy outside of AAA. I also supplement with GeForce Now, Steam. Yeah, I'm the same way. Not GeForce, but everything else you said, I'm exactly the same way. All right, this is Joshua La Rosa. Again, man, I'm looking for the controversy. It sounds like you guys are normal, healthy, mentally people. Joshua, it's Jeff. Are you there?
Hey, Jeffy, how you going?
It's good. How are you?
Good. I'm calling in from Melbourne, Australia. So,
okay.
Yeah, big fan of your show.
Oh, thank you, man.
Look, I think my perspective on all of it, I think Game Pass is a great supplement to the industry. And I think what PlayStation's doing with PlayStation Plus is the same thing. I've always kind of disagreed with the idea that this is the future. And that's mainly down to, I guess, where the casual market lies and where most of the game sales, right? So we know, obviously, the Activision deal that goes through, Call of Duty and all those games land on Game Pass day one, and that will provide great value. But I think to the mainstream, I feel the traditional purchasing method will always be the primary way that people play games.
Can you define mainstream? When you say mainstream gamer, what are you talking about? Is the mainstream gamer the soccer moms who play Candy Crush, or is it the guys who get excited about E3 every year?
I think the guys that are excited for E3 every year, right? So you've got the casual gamers out there that would, I guess, play either on mobile or you play your Call of Duty or FIFA every year, those soccer mums, as you put it. But I guess for the more hardcore fan of games in the industry are probably more likely to still use the traditional purchasing method. I think, you think of what Game Pass has done for discoverability. It's the same thing as, I guess, with PlayStation Plus traditionally, right? Games like Rocket League or even Fall Guys recently have found success on those services. But I just think the way games are made, the way how much they cost, and you see Sean Layden speaking about it and Jim Ryan, I don't think Sony's lying in the sense where they say, the money that they put towards their games, relies on them releasing those games traditionally and not as part of a subscription service. So I think my concern, I guess, with Game Pass, I guess, holistically, is the idea that the way that games are made is changed by the fact that they're releasing in a service. And I think we're seeing that even on the Sony side, right? They've promised, 10 games as a service between now and 2025. Xbox are clearly transitioning to more of a service type of game. They do have single player games coming, Perfect Dark, etc. But I think that the way these subscription services take off will ultimately impact the way games are made and the type of games people play.
But are you assuming, though, that those games are going to be the major changes, that they're going to be service-based games and they're going to be games as a service? That because that's what I hear more often. Is that what you're basically suggesting?
Yeah, and I think the fear with that is the market can really only sustain X amount of these games at one time. And I think the publishers know that, right? Like, Sony launching these 10 games are not all going to launch at once. They're not all going to be the same type of game appealing to different players. And same thing with Xbox. But I just think that the way that the industry's changed and where they've seen success in the past is kind of having a hybrid of, single-player games, multiplayer games, smaller games, larger games. But I think, where I guess Sony's seen success is that reliance on that big AAA success. And I think it's important for both publishers to, not just replicate what the other's doing. I think it's great that PlayStation Plus exists. I'm not planning to subscribe because the idea of having hundreds of games staring me in the eye kind of freaks me out. I'd rather be a bit more selective with the games I play, but I do think there is a place for it for discoverability on both sides.
Well, I will say this though, where I hear you and I understand you. I think for me, I've said this numerous times. If all these service-based things become our games as a service aggregators, then who gives a shit, right? I mean, there's no value, and I would unsubscribe, and I think a lot of people would. But what excites me is the flip side of it, that it almost seems like a lot of people who are opposed to Game Pass don't see. Like, and I've never understood why they don't see this. When you say that games, how they're being made, are changing, I would agree with you that how games are changing are becoming more games as a service, but that's not Game Pass. That's these companies looking at incredibly inexpensive compared to something like Uncharted 4 and going, wait, Roblox and Fortnite and Fall Guys and Minecraft and all these things that the up and coming, and Among Us, these service-based games, they were chasing well before Game Pass. The industry was changing and becoming a group of publishers that chase after that. I mean, Ubisoft has done it. EA makes most of their money from microtransactions and services now. 2K does. That's not a Game Pass issue. That's the gamers showed up and said, hey, we like this. We'll vote with our dollars. And the business tilted in that direction.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. But I do think on the other side of that, right, like there's no, in my eyes, I don't see a world where Halo Infinite wouldn't have launched as a games as a service 10 years ago, right? Like it's now launched as that type of game.
But that's not Game Pass. Look at Call of Duty Warzone. I mean, I mean that's I mean, it will be Game Pass now, but when they were making it, that's not them sitting around looking at Game Pass. That's them going, you mean if we make this game and instead of having to put it in a box and ship it and all this crap, we just keep refreshing it every couple of months, we can make more money than we could by putting it in a box? Fuck, let's do that. I mean, that's just the fact that the industry is responding to the customers. But I will say on the part of how games get made because of service-based games, if you look, it's such a great example. So I'm a big fan of Stranger Things. Stranger Things season 4 comes out, I think next week or the next week. Every single episode of that show is a feature-length film for the most part. They range at the low end, 50 minutes all the way up to like 2 hours plus, depending on which episode you're talking about. Well, that freedom to let the creativity and let the art form breathe based on what the product needs, not based on what the business model needs. I think a lot of people ignore that when they're looking at subscription services, acting as if you're not going to get the benefit of that sort of unfettered, unshackled expression of the art form compared to how constricted it was to put it in a $60 box for the last 15, 20 years. I mean, that, I think, as someone who loves the art form, I'm very excited about that.
Oh, me too. And I think probably the number one fear that ties directly into Netflix, for instance, is the idea of when Netflix launched, right? It was this new exciting thing, was a great way to watch movies and TV shows at home. Mm-hmm. Now we've got 6 other streaming services. We've got Netflix hemorrhaging subscribers. Competition breeds creativity and all that as well. But
it does.
There is a side of it, or there is a negative side of it where PlayStation do it, Ubisoft really push Ubisoft Plus. We start seeing a world where, hey, you need to subscribe to these 4 subscription services independently to get access to these games. So
how often are you going to? I mean, I agree with you, but at that point, it's like subscribe to one for a month, play what you want to play, cancel it, subscribe to the next. I mean, you don't actually if you have Game Pass and PS Plus and Ubisoft Plus and EA Play or whatever. You don't need those because they're bundled in, but whatever. Who's got the time to play all that shit every month? Just cancel it and use it when you want to use it.
Yeah, it's the same thing though, but I just don't think people do that. Like, I've got Disney, I've got Netflix, more my partner uses it, to be honest. But it's the idea of once you're kind of hooked in, you get in on a 12-month subscription service, you tend to just stick around and forget. It's like a gym membership, right? I think there is definitely
there is that. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you for the call. Thank you for the input. I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
No, cheers, Jackie.
All right, see you,
Bye.
dude. I want to get these notes real quick. So, Chris McComb has super chatted. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, Jaffe, I just want to show you a little support. I've watched your podcast with Colin, and I found it very interesting and loved your thoughts on Iron Lords. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the community. I haven't seen you around, but I appreciate your super chat. More importantly, I appreciate you being here and being part of our little community. Thank you. And thank you to Twin War, who gets a smoke of the pipe. There you go, baby. Twin War has become our newest Diet Soda Soldier. There's new crazy things happening to the membership pretty soon, fellas. I'll let you know in the next week or two. But Twin War, thank you for that. Thank you for joining. Everybody who is capable, please give Twin War an emoticon of your choice. I would appreciate it. Okay, I'm turning back on the red phone. Sorry about that. But yeah, I look at things like Stranger Things. I look at things like all of these different ability for creators to take more chances because they are on subscription services. And the thing that I don't understand, is when people bring up Netflix losing. I saw some people talking about it in the chat. People bring up Netflix losing money and subscribers, and they act as if that is a reflection of the audience walking away from subscription services. But they're walking away from one subscription service to go to other subscription services. It's not like they're going, no, we want our cable back and we want to start going to the movies instead. They're like, no, we want Disney Plus for a while, and we want HBO Max for a while, and ooh, Shudder. I watch Shudder a lot. I want that for a while, you know? So I think it's clear the audience has embraced this and will continue to embrace this. I understand in Russia, of course, that's a different issue. Brian East is talking about because of the war, Netflix said, we're not going to entertain you. I don't know what their logic was. I mean, I get not pumping it into Putin's mansion, but but regardless, yes, they kind of suspended service and lost 200,000 subs. So, and again, what's funny is Big Buds in the chat says Netflix 200 million subs and they still lose money. Who cares? This is what I don't understand. Who gives a shit? There is a $200 million movie coming out with Chris Evans and Ryan Reynolds, I think is the other guy, or Ryan Gosling, I don't remember, called The Gray Man. It's the most expensive streaming movie ever fucking made. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if but they're not in the red or they're not in the black. Okay, they'll figure it out, and if they don't, they'll go out of business. In the meantime, hang on, it's a good ride. Right? I mean, I just don't fucking get it. Do you go to the movies and go, hey, you want to go see Doctor Strange this weekend? I would. But I hear the budget might be about 20% over the probable chance it's going to make its money back if you include print and advertising. So I'm going to choose not to partake. I mean, what a bizarre argument. What a bizarre argument for someone who wants to be a fan of something. It's like, I'm going to go to this concert. Oh, it was amazing. They had pyro and they had explosions is pyro. And they had special guests that came out. And I don't care if they made their money back that night. The fuck do I care? This is Sharif. Sharif, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Hey, Jaffe, what's up? I just want to ask you a question about GeForce Now and Game Pass.
Okay.
How would you compare it?
Well, I don't have GeForce Now, but let me pitch it to you and you tell me if I understand it properly. GeForce Now basically will take whatever games you've already purchased and or games that they have on their subscription service, and it will stream them to your PC. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the only real difference is, and you can subscribe, right? You don't have to have purchased anything.
Correct. You can subscribe.
Okay. So, I mean, the thing is, it's the day and date and the exclusives is all that matters in these things. That's why it's like, Netflix might have an old Adam Sandler movie on it, but I'm not like, I need Netflix so I can watch, Big Daddy. Right? It's just like, yeah, I'll just go rent it or I'll find it somewhere else or I'll watch it on Netflix. It's so GeoForce, I don't believe, are making or offering exclusives. And in that, I don't think it compares to Game Pass, right? Right now, nothing compares to Game Pass that's offering first party, doesn't even matter if it's first party, but day and date exclusives of games. The only game in town, Stadia from time to time played with that, but not in any meaningful way. But that's a major deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say.
And the PS Now will be the most competitive with Game Pass, right? Not the
Well,
GeForce.
yeah, well, in many ways. But again, until it actually starts doing day and date with something, and it doesn't have to be their first party or it doesn't have to be their expensive first party games, until they start doing that, then it really isn't a competitor. It's more like it's a nice old backlog rental service, which is great. I plan on subscribing for a little bit. But
would you ever subscribe to GeForce Now?
No, but that's probably because most of what I have on for PC, it's not on there because I play a lot of weird ass indie shit on my PC, or I've already got on console. But I haven't. To be fair, I haven't looked at it in a long time, so it might have some. It might have some games I really would like.
And then you can play it in RTX 3080.
Yeah, but I got to get one of those cards first.
No, you don't.
Oh, really? Oh, because it's streaming.
Yeah, it's on the cloud service.
Yeah, it's streaming from their shit. Oh, now maybe I will try it. What's the game I should try if I want to give it a try and be my mind blown?
Anything 4K, you'll be mind blown. Anything you can't play on your PC, because you got the RTX 3080 from the cloud service. If you have a good internet, you pay $20 a month, and that's it.
All right, let me give it a try. All right, Sharif, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. Peace.
Indeed, Mr. Sharif. Zafarix, thank you so much for resubbing, I think, to the Diet Soda Soldiers. There you go, buddy. There's a little hit of the pipe. And why don't you also stick this plug in your mouth? There you go. Get a little charge of love from Papa Jaffe. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the support, man. I want to tell you that Brian Dooley of the Cincinnati Dooleys, good family down there. Good fucking family. The sister's a little crazy, but she's hot. Brian Dooley has been a member for 13 months. He says, I like some of the sub-models. Game Pass is pretty cool for a ton of indie titles and a great taster. My main console's PS5, so I'll buy a Game Pass game on my PS5 to play, trophies, etc. Yeah, whatever ecosystem you're in, I get the value of that. That makes a great deal of sense. Brian, thank you for all the support, man. I appreciate it. John O has super chatted. He says, Jaffe, what's your favorite strain right now to smoke? I get Pineapple Express on the regular from MedMen, and it never fails to satisfy. I do need to find some more chill marijuana strands, whatever the fuck they call it, because I don't really have that experience with the reefer. But if I'm looking to do a funny stream and just lose my shit, I go with the what's that goddamn thing called? Pineapple Express. It's good. It's good people. Okay, let me bring in a YouTube guy. Again, there we go. Let's do this. Mr. YouTube guy, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Yeah, so I was wondering, because I think you know more about more than me on this subject.
Okay.
Do we know the workings of Game Pass, like what Microsoft's putting into it financially in order to support it?
I mean, only what they've revealed as of late in their calls. I mean, the only thing they've really said is that, they haven't given subscription numbers since last January. And I don't know if that's just a thing they want to do every year. Obviously, if they were booming like crazy, they probably would be trumpeting them, but I don't fucking know. And we obviously don't know what their break even is or anything like that. So my guess is that it's probably not making profit at the moment, but as Phil Spencer says, it's sustainable, meaning that they're willing to sort of bleed money for a little bit until they get it off the runway. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know any more than what I just said. There might be a little bit more data out there, but it's not like I could say, okay, they have this number of games in development. These are the budgets. These are the break evens on those games. They assume most of those games will be played with Game Pass, so 75% goes to Game Pass subscriptions, and here's how that breaks up, and 25% traditional retail. I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, like one of the like counter arguments to Game Pass that I know some folks have. I'm an Xbox and PlayStation guy, so I don't really hold much of an opinion. Besides, Game Pass at the moment seems to be pretty good.
Okay.
But I know some people worry about the like long-term like sustainability. Like they don't want to purchase like an Xbox One X, or like a Series X, for example, on the like idea that Game Pass is going to be a permanent thing because they don't want to sort of invest into something that they might not actually get the reaps of.
Well, sure. I mean, but that's, I mean, look, if you just look at the games, I mean, they would have to have, and it's possible, but they would have to have such a massive collapse of faith in the service to basically take all of these companies they've acquired, some of the biggest names in the video game industry, and just go, yeah, we're kind of not doing that anymore. But you know, I guess it's possible, but what I would say is that may ultimately be where it goes if it fails, but I don't think they're going to give up the ghost in this generation. I think they'll kind of go, if it didn't work, if they make another Xbox, we're out. The rumor is this is it. This is their Hail Mary. And what I think is going to be happening in a couple of weeks when they go on stage for their Bethesda Microsoft reveal of a number of pieces of software and whatnot, they're also going to start talking about the Microsoft Puck or Xbox Game Pass, whatever that is, where you plug it into your TV. You don't even need a console. Or if you buy a new Samsung, it comes already in your TV and you just have to subscribe to it. So hopefully, you know, it's going to be something that people who might be a little risk averse, like you're suggesting, there'll be ways for them to test it out. And yeah, it may take a little while, but I mean, Netflix took a while. Disney Plus didn't take long, but we'd already been conditioned that Netflix isn't going anywhere. But I don't think that's a large percentage of people who push back because they're like, oh, it may not sustain. I haven't really picked up on that, but maybe you have.
All right,
man.
Yeah, I mean, right, yeah.
Thanks, bud. There he goes. Hang on a sec. Mega Devo, super chat. Well, first let me say 9 Live says, Jaffe, why don't the Game Pass haters call in? I don't know. Mega Devo has super chatted. He says, Xbox is super trash. Mega Devo is 12. Just got off for summer vacation, and his mom lets him have 2 hours of computer time. Mega Devo, thank you for spending your time doing this instead of playing Roblox and Minecraft with the rest of your 12-year-old cohorts. I appreciate it, buddy. Luca has super chatted. He says, Microsoft could cut Win Phone and Nokia. Why not Xbox? Oh, I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying that they are all in on Game Pass if you look at the money that they've spent. I don't know what the Windows Phone price ended up being in terms of what they spent. I'd be stunned if it got, I mean, what is it now? Activision was $80 billion, and then Bethesda was 40, and then all these other little drip. I mean, that would be a hell of a failure. But that said, though, yeah, I mean, they're not invulnerable. But I think before they cut it, they're either going to start dropping the AAAs, and then, look, let's put it this way. If these guys start dropping the Bethesdas, the Activisions, all their internal studios at the cadence that's promised, and it doesn't work, cool. I mean, not cool. I think that would suck, but oh well, it didn't work. But I can't imagine Microsoft is looking at this and going, we're on shaky ground. It's going to work or it's not going to work, but I don't think it's ready to judge yet, Luca, until they are able to actually roll this shit out, which is why somebody needs to help fucking Phil Spencer manage this shit. Darth Nugget's been a member for 13 months. Thank you, buddy. He says, you better not dodge Bacon Magnus chat. I never dodge his chat. I haven't seen it yet. Thank you for the support, Darth Nugget. You know, I appreciate it. John Flattery. Hello. He's been a member for 5 months, which I appreciate, John Flattery. He says, Netflix has just lost subs for the first time in 10 years. Is that the standard moving forward? Tall task, but doable for Microsoft. Netflix has lost subs because they exposed a market, a business model to the world that no one knew people wanted. And then competitors rushed in. And frankly, right now, the competitors are offering better stuff. Disney Plus and HBO Max looks like kind of to me what Sony PlayStation would look like if they ever start doing day and date. because unless something changes at Microsoft, PlayStation has always historically made better first-party games. It certainly in a mainstream genre. Obviously, you can debate racing, stuff like that, shooters, of course. But people look at Netflix. I love Netflix, but a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all crap," which I don't agree with. But fine. Oh, it's all crap. Well, fine. Then go to HBO Max. That's not all crap. Disney Plus, not all crap. So I do think that that's what's causing it. I know that's what is caused the bleeding at Netflix, along with I think they said, I don't remember the number, but it was massive, the number of people who are sharing their Xbox accounts. D-Trucks, thank you for the super chat. He says Sniper Elite 5 is dropping day one. That's AAA. That's not AAA. It is dropping day one. I'm excited for it, but that's you couldn't get more double A. You couldn't get more double A than Sniper. It's a huge success. But budget-wise, my guess is those games take about $60 million to make compared to $200 million for actual AAA games. I don't agree with that. Zaf says HBO has stopped doing day and date. Now there's a buffer of a film being in the theater and on their service. Again, that's a lot of people bring that up. It's not analogous. Yes, there was a time in the pandemic where they would bring things day and date to HBO Max, and now they don't. But just like Disney, just like Stranger Things on Netflix, the days of the lines have been so blurred they don't exist anymore between what is a feature film and what is a television series or a movie that is made for a Disney Plus. So yes, you're not going to go to the theater and see Obi-Wan. I don't give a fuck. I want to see Obi-Wan more than anything that's in theaters right now, right? So just because HBO has said we have this part of our business that goes theater first, then comes to our service, that doesn't mean they've stopped producing exclusives for their service. They're still doing a shit ton of that. Jarvie Rock says a lot of people, thank you, buddy. I appreciate the support, good sir. He says, a lot of people were using those journalists as a gotcha for supporters, but those people get paid to play games, so of course, they already have played the games on it. I have a Series S, and I'm loving Game Pass, but I haven't played all the games yet. Are you talking about Gene, like people were using them? Yeah, I don't even know why people need supporters. If you like anything, you don't need ammunition. Have some fucking balls and say, I like it. If you like the fucking Intellivision Amico, you don't need someone to buttress up your opinion. Think about how dumb that is. Think about how childish that is. Think about how embarrassing for you that is, that you gravitate towards people who share your opinion, not because they're like-minded humans, but so you can run out and use them as some sort of ammunition to prove that you're not a fucking moron. Come on now. But I agree, Jarvie Rocks. I'm assuming that's what they were doing, and now they're like, hey, Gene, what happened to Gene? Who cares? Who cares? Gene's great. He don't want Game Pass right now. What do I care? See, Louie, I can't say your name. I can't, baby. He says, I've been a member for 3 months. Let's go. Thank you, buddy, for that support. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay. Brian East says, been a member for 16 months, one of our most vocal members. We love Brian East here. He says, so you mentioned that Game Pass isn't at a level where you're willing to cancel it. How bad will it have to get before you say, fuck it, I'm out? I would say, Brian East, what I love about Game Pass right now is the frequency of day one drops across the budgetary spectrum. So if what ends up happening is like literally once or twice a week, and I've talked about this on my stream before, but once or twice a week, I can launch the PC app, because I'm on my PC more than on consoles. I can launch the Xbox PC app, and it's a joy, because when you see, I think I can show it to you. When you see these little boxes right here, when there's a new title, they, for like a brief moment while it's buffering, these little boxes go gray, and you're like, ooh, what's new? And then it kind of takes a second to buffer, and bloop, new games. Like, that's what I love about it, because every month there's 3 or 4 or 5 things I want to try. So if it stopped being that, I would walk away. PS Now, I eventually stopped subscribing to because it never had anything really new. It was like every now and then they'd go, hey, this was from 4 months ago. Remember this? Boom. But they weren't, the only thing they ever dropped day and date that I recall was Shadow Warrior 3, which was great as a drop, but it wasn't a very good game. And they didn't follow it up with anything. So I just kind of assumed, all right, well, that's all she wrote with that one. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, let me bring in Easy Exec. He's been waiting for a while. Easy, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Jaffe? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Right on, right on. Yeah, love your games, love the show and everything.
Thank you very much.
Just a couple quick points about Game Pass that I think can potentially hurt the industry moving forward.
Okay.
One of them being like the buy-ups of all of these video game companies.
Okay.
Like for obviously with the Activision, then you got EA, which wants to be purchased moving forward, and potentially Sony purchasing Square. So with some of these buy-ups, I think it hurts the industry as a whole because with Square, they make games across all 3 platforms and PC. So we're gonna kind of lose some of that, right? If there's gonna be a purchase from Sony in that regards, right? But the only reason that Sony
you're gonna lose it, meaning what? If you only play on Game Pass?
Just in general, right? Because like they're purchasing these companies in terms of competition, right? So they want to be like, okay, so Xbox is purchasing Activision, so what does PS have to offer? So PS, they're going to go out obviously and purchase Square,
right?
In that regards, right? So Square has all of these retro kind of RPGs on the Switch at the moment, right? So I think the industry will lose out on some of those games if this acquisition does happen, right? Because a lot of the games are now going to be focused on the PS, which PS doesn't necessarily have that whole handheld market in that regard. So there's that instance.
So you're saying that specifically with Square, because they make things like what, Octopath Traveler and
exactly
what is that new one, this terrible title, Triangle Strategy.
Right.
I don't imagine. Well, first off, if you look at Microsoft anyway, and I think even with Sony, with Bungie, they have made it clear, at least with some of these acquisitions, that these things only have to benefit Sony, but they don't have to harm anyone else. They're saying Destiny is still going to be on all the platforms, right? But even assuming the worst case where they finally say, you know what, nope, we own Square, we only want it on our shit. I think at that point, really what Sony's not going to not make a game that's going to be profitable. So if they look at Octopath Traveler 3 and they say all of Square's shit is ours day and date, we don't have a handheld, but Octopath was on Game Pass. It's not like you can't put it on a console. But if they look at it and go, we don't think there's an audience for this, then really they're not.
Like, do you not see like companies like losing some of their autonomous, like, I guess?
Well, I think
like,
that's I think that's when any company buys any company, you have to be aware of that. I think in the case of Sony, they've continually showed with their acquisitions that they pick cultures that make a lot of sense to them. I don't think we know anything about Square regarding how it would gel with Sony. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be pros and cons to an acquisition, just like any other kind of relationship that comes together. If
sure.
you move in with somebody, you're probably going to want to get rid of some of your shit because she's not going to like it, but you get to live with a pretty lady, hopefully, or a lady you find pretty.
For sure.
Or a guy, whatever you're into, or a monkey. It doesn't matter. The point is you have to compromise. But the thing that you're saying that's one of the negatives, I mean, that's been in business since the beginning. I mean,
but I think now it's even worse, no?
Well, because they're having to compete. And Sony's kind of, unless Sony merges. I mean, when you think about this, when you think about EA the other day saying, we've been talking to companies about either merging or selling, they didn't mention Sony because it's Apple and Amazon and I forget what the third one was. It wasn't Microsoft either, but that was probably because they're tied up with the current acquisition. But I don't know if that's true, but they didn't mention Microsoft either. But I mean, the industry, big entertainment has just simply gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is a game of kaijus banging into each other and battling at this point. And so the neat thing is that the indies have not gone away. Indie games have gotten easier to make than ever. The internet is there to sort of, connect with your fans, even if you're not a big player. But, the people who want it to be, PS3 era again, those days are gone. But guess what? The Atari's gone. I mean, it's almost like a lot of this is from people who don't have any experience with change, and they're just like, I don't like this. I want what I liked when I was a kid.
For sure. I think in Game Pass in its current state, its current price with the games that it has now, it's definitely, worth the purchase. I personally have Game Pass. But I mean, honestly speaking, it can't, sustain itself at that price. With the amount of
I don't know that, and you don't know that. Well, with the amount of users, sure.
Sure.
But I mean, I think their plan is suddenly if let's assume Phil Spencer's vision comes to fruition, and you get Call of Duty Day 1 for free, Starfield Day 1 for free. You get the next Skyrim, you get the Indiana Jones game, you get the next Forza. I mean, every couple of months you're getting a game that had been conditioned would cost you $70. I'm sure what they're thinking is people are going to pour in and subscribe to this because there's nothing else fucking like it. If they do that, I absolutely think they win. But until they can, though, I think you're right. I think they're going to keep bleeding money.
Yeah, they're going to keep, and they can only bleed money for so long, right?
I think they know when like I said to the earlier caller, I think it's very clear. If they have a year where it's like, wait a minute, Call of Duty was, quote, free. The new Crash Bandicoot from Toys for Bob was free. Starfield was free. We finally got Halo together. We're dropping it all the time. Forza update, on and on and on.
Right.
And after a year, they're like, this still isn't working. Okay, then they start to go, this isn't working. But I think right now it's like you're trying to judge something, and this is their fault. They should not be where they're at in the timeline and still putting out the anemic drip feed they are, but they are. But,
I mean, personally, for me, like whenever I get Game Pass, it's always for $1. It's like always some kind of promotion. It's like, hey, welcome back. Here's $1, and I always take advantage of it. I haven't paid in Game Pass, for full, and I don't know if the system itself is broken. You know what I mean?
There's there's no reason to. I mean, but they're betting that there will be. We'll find out. But right now,
sure. And another quick thing though, do you remember Sega Channel?
I never had it, but I always thought it was a cool idea.
It was definitely a cool idea, right? And I just hope that MS doesn't necessarily go the way of Sega Channel in that regards, and I want games preservation to kind of remain a staple.
But that's never going.
I mean?
Well, I know what you mean, but what I wish there was another term, because what people say when you really drill down is they don't want games preservation. They personally want access to whatever game they want that's old when they want to play it, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but that's not preservation. Preservation is usually like the film is rotting of Citizen Kane. We have to preserve it and make sure that it exists for all time, and let's put a copy of it in the Library of Congress and shit. But yeah, sure, absolutely. Easy, thank you so much for calling, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
Talk soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right, there he goes into the night. I'm going to turn on the red phone now. If you called and I couldn't talk, now I can. Let me bring up the volume so I can hear you. And while I'm waiting, I'll bring in some of these super chats. Thank you, guys. C. Lou, please tell me how to say your name, sir, or ma'am. Super chat, he says, Game Pass is putting too much pressure on themselves to guarantee day one first party. That doesn't make any sense. I appreciate your ducats. I appreciate you being part of our community. That makes no goddamn sense. Day one is day one. When it's ready, it's ready. Whether or not they slip a schedule or not, they might be putting pressure on themselves. But them releasing it on Game Pass day one, what pressure is there? Any different than releasing it at a store? I think it is their business model. I don't think it's pressure. I think you either are in on this or you're out. And you either believe, like streaming movies and whatnot, this is the future, or you don't. But if you're talking about a developer going, we're going to be on Game Pass and it better work, that's anything. I mean, that's any choice a developer has to make. Do we go with option A or do we go with option B? Rage Mode Methods, thank you so much for being a member of the chat of the goddamn Gabbin' Games. I appreciate it. But he says, Day and Date justifies a yearly sub more than what Sony is doing. If there are 3 first-party Xbox games you play, then the sub is paid for. I agree. And there's a hell of a lot more than just those 3 first party. But again, if you look at the plan, these guys have 32 fucking studios, and some of them are probably making more than one game. Think about that. I mean, you're talking at that point. Now, again, they're not all going to interest you, and a lot of them will not be Sony level of AAA. But, you know, that's okay for someone like me. Maybe it's not for someone like you, but ultimately, you could be releasing a new, you know, AAA game or a game from one of these studios that's a big studio that makes $60 commercial products. You could be releasing those fucking things every 6 to 8 weeks. And that doesn't include the AA's and the indies that you get from third parties. I mean, it's insane. Brett Williams, I'm not done yet. I haven't missed your super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. Brett Williams says, I'm just here to lurk while making dinner and listening to you yell, Jaffe. Thumbs up. Boy, I sure am glad I read that. I'm kidding. What are you making for dinner? You better send us all some. I love that you're making dinner and you got us on keeping you company. In fact, Brett Williams, I'm going to bring on my good pal, the Incredible Leaf. Well, let me settle for a minute. I'll bring on the guys in the Discord in a second, but I want to give the Red Phone a chance. I know some people were calling. I didn't mean to hang up on you. It is available now, 949-954-0569. Call in if you want. In the meantime, let's go to the text chat. In the end, says Jojo Munger, it all comes down to what games you want to play. If Game Pass has those games, it's a great option. Absolutely. 100%. You know what bothers me, though, Joe, is that none of these fuckers have called in. None of these fuckers that have a big fucking mouth on the internet and talk about how shitty Game Pass is. Where are they? Maybe this is one, Joe. It's Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, Jaffe.
Hey.
So first I want to settle like some fears people were talking about.
Okay.
About Game Pass, thinking like, oh, it's going to change the future of the industry. They said the same thing about music.
Mm-hmm.
That was over 30 years ago.
Wait. Hang on. Start again. They said the same thing about music. You don't mean Napster? That wasn't 30 years ago, was it?
Well, almost 30 years. But what I'm saying is, can you still go buy music at the store?
You can, but it's becoming less and less stocked because what are you going to play it on? You can buy it at the digital store.
Yeah, but you can still buy physical. I'm saying it's like
sure.
The market's still there for music. It's going to be there for games for a long time.
Sort of. It's a little different because there is not a universal player. You can go buy vinyl, and I don't have to have a specific type of vinyl to play the Hamilton soundtrack on.
Important thing people forget is military. When soldiers are at war, they don't have access to internet.
Okay.
Not to the extent of a whole game.
Okay.
And multiplayer and all that stuff. So, wars are going to be fought. A physical media is still going to exist.
And I mean, here's what I think. I think just like Activision, Sony, Microsoft, at least the stories I remember seeing would be like they would send over tons of controllers and Xboxes and Call of Duties and all that. They'll just send over Xboxes with the shit loaded for the soldiers. I don't think that's enough to merit an entire business model shift that from time to time, well, it's America always, but from time to time, we're going to be in a war situation where the troops don't have internet, and so let's not support subscription services. I mean, if that was the case, there wouldn't be Netflix and HBO Max and Spotify and all that stuff. So I don't know if I can agree with you on that, but hey, we'll see.
All right. And another thing I have a question, though, is this, if it's, I believe to a point, I don't say it's close, but say we get to that future, that Black Mirror future where the experiences are no longer, semi-real, but completely one-to-one. Is there still room for would probably be considered indie version of games? Like games we play today would be the subpar.
No, I mean,
we get to that point.
I think it only if you're looking at games as a medium that is intended to reflect reality, or to if you're talking about an immersive sim. No, you don't need photoreal graphics, but if you don't have them, there's a lot more heavy lifting that has to be done on the systems and whatnot. But I think games are games. We haven't stopped playing Monopoly just because we have video games now, or we haven't stopped playing. Board games are doing better than they have in a long time right now. So, no, I don't think games as just acknowledging themselves as games are going anywhere. But certainly, as the graphics become more and more photorealistic, and we plug in, and it's through, we're talking 100, 200, 500 years down the line. We plug this shit into our brains directly or what have you, yeah, you're going to have less call for a Metroidvania 2.5D with pixels, but I'm sure somebody will do it.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, man. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it, bud. There he goes. In 2 years, more than 30 AAA exclusives will be rolling out on Game Pass, says Alexa 3 Killer. Maybe. I mean, that I got, again, I don't have any patience for what's happening at Microsoft right now. I don't think you can be taken seriously as a fan, but not a fanatic of Xbox if you're still in the camp of just wait. I think that's silly. I think you have no choice but to wait. But to act like it's going to be good, fellas. It's like, you know what? They have not earned that faith. They simply have not when it comes to putting games out at a frequent enough drop. So I don't agree with that. They need someone else as Eternal in charge of their game division. I agree. Not in charge of it like Phil is, but in terms of product development. The big Game Pass release so far this year was made by Sony. What? Oh, you mean MLB? Yeah. I know. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. But I'm not going to get into that. How many more times do I have to talk about that? It's ridiculous. What's happening at Halo is ridiculous. Like, I can't wait for someone to write that book. The fuck is going on? Over there? You can't release more than 2 Call of Duty goddamn levels in 6 months? Fucking morons. The Incredible Leaf. What's going on, pal?
Hello, man.
Hello.
I was just having a conversation. You just interrupted me.
Well, suck my dick.
I was waiting for you, though. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah. Just a few things. I was speaking to you on the chat. Playing this indie game called Hunt Down. It's like a Contra kind of game.
Oh, Hunt Down. Yeah, it's kind of 80s, right?
Yeah.
It's great.
It's brilliant. Yeah. The other thing is, I was just watching the latest DF Retro, like Digital Foundry, and like John Lennon was talking about how he thinks that after the 360 PS3 generation, things kind of changed in the industry. Like everything got serious. Like Sony used to make some really quirky games with the PS2 and PS1 era. Yeah. And I've got a game on PS2 I just looked at. It's called Under the Skin, made by Capcom of all people, where you actually possess people and then you do like kind of nefarious things with their bodies. Yes. And I was just thinking, like, do you think something like ever's going to come back, like where
it's back now?
They've made.
It's
but
back.
I mean, on consoles, I'm talking specifically like Sony going back to that, producing games which are like quirky, like they've got their serious games, they've got all their.
I don't know what. Look, we've seen it in movies and we've seen it in music where these big publishers will open up these kind of boutique branches.
That's what
you'll have Fox and they'll have Searchlight, right? Or you'll have I forget all the ones, but you'll have these little. They make more artistic, experimental films, blah blah blah. And sometimes those films make a lot of money, but they're never in the profit of like their big summer films or what have you. I don't know why they do that. I don't know if it's to attract talent and then that talent will then agree to star in the big movies and that's really, or if it is a good profitable business, and I have no idea, but assuming that logic can be applied to video games, sure, I could see Sony eventually going, you know what we should do? We need a little, PlayStation, I don't know what they'd call it. They call it like
PlayStation Retro.
Well, it doesn't even have to be retro. Just sort of you know.
I mean, retro in spirit, not necessarily like 2D.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it retro because then you're going to send you're going to send a signal that they're just old pixel games. But I think it's things that are like, look, we make games here with the same philosophy of innovation and interest, but we don't spend more than $7 million on each one. Right. And then that is where you're going to get some really interesting things again. But, you know, things, it's just like every other medium. I say it all the time. The medium at a mainstream level got stagnant, not because Sony decided to be less creative, but because gamers said, at least at a console level, we value graphics more than anything else. That's what they said. You can say what you want, but that's what they do with their money. They value graphics more than anything else, people who play on console primarily. And in that, they're like, okay, we'll give you what you want, but we're not going to risk making Parappa the Rappa for $200 million. Get used to sort of 95% same and 5% unique when we can fit it in.
Even if they have like you said, like this kind of like B tier or even C tier studio where they actually they give an opportunity to like these up and coming designers, so it's like, you know, it's a proving ground. Like just make crazy shit, you know, just make some.
I think you could get up and comers. I think you could get veterans. They're I don't know if it's still in their DNA, but 2K has a boutique label like that called Private Division, and back when they were first starting. And they've shipped some games. I want to say Outer Worlds, not the one from Annapurna. The other one is from Private Division. But you know, those guys, you know, that was sort of their philosophy of like, look, we want to make games that are under $10 million that really push the medium and are more interesting and can build into big IPs. And we don't have the same pressure as, hey, here's a 500 million, literally GTA 5. So I love the idea. I don't miss it because right now that scratch is itched continuously by the indie scene and the AA scene. I think a lot of it is people who play console just don't bother to look. I mean, I'll show you something right now on the screen real quick. I didn't have this prep, but it'll take me 2 seconds to bring it up. Check this out. I mean, I'm even amazed because usually when I turn on my PlayStation 5, I'm not really, I think it's like I go to my main deck. Like I only go to the store, you know, when I'm looking for something I already know I want, right? But if you look, I hope this is.
They had an indie sale on recently.
Yeah, but it's not even at the here. Let me put this on the screen. It's not even in the indie spot. Like most of their new releases, are fucking. Hang on, let me bring this up. There we go. That's kind of tiny, but whatever. You can see it. Most of their new releases are these weird, fucking quirky, fucking games. But for me, I boot right up into Elden Ring. But let me boot up. Let me go to the store. And if I go over to the store and you just go down to, I don't know if it's new games, right? I mean, look at this shit. Who's heard of half of these? But most people, even people on console, it's not on their radar, man. I mean, I don't know what the fuck this is, but looks kind of fun, tanks and shit. But people would go, look at that graphics, it looks like shit.
Yeah.
But I'd play
It's a shame, this obsession with like AAA values.
Look at this. I don't even know what this is that I'm looking at, but it looks good. It looks like Resident Evil or some such shit. I'll play this.
Yeah. I just wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, because obviously you've seen both ends of the industries from those days of PS1 and PS2, and do you miss those? Do you miss those days?
No, but it's maybe one of the reasons people don't understand when I say I have no interest in. People are like, you just are. People accuse me all the time of being. They're like, you're salty with Sony. They won't hire you or something, and I'm like, well. My time in the business,
convenient narrative for someone who, if you can criticize Sony as well as praise them, but it's a convenient narrative for someone who doesn't want to criticize Sony at all.
But in terms of missing those days, my experience working at Sony is probably much more analogous to working in the indie space now. because that's where that creative juice is, and that's what I love. I wouldn't want to be on a $250 million game where I have to fucking convince everybody of everything I want to do, or it doesn't get a green light. All right, Leaf, thank you for calling. Call back anytime, buddy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, buddy. All right, this is a call coming in from the red phone. Hang on a second. Let me turn you up. All right, what's up? It's Jaffe. And they ended. I'll call right back if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to bring Dungeon on. Too many people think the only way you can enjoy games is by picking a team, says Brian East. Oh, I know. I'm not dodging Bacon Magma. Where is he? Have him call in. You know, I talk to Bacon Magma all the fucking time. It's Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, Jaffe. This is Hacky Sack.
Hey.
I just wanted to call in to have a conversation about game physics.
Game physics?
It might be, yeah, game physics. It might roll into what you just talked about with Leaf. You were saying that the big focus is graphics. In my opinion, I feel like there's been a lack of focus on game physics, and my point of reference is something like Red Faction Guerrilla. Have you ever played that?
You mean the game where you blow up all the environment?
Exactly. Yeah. You can tear a building down with just a hammer.
Oh yeah, and there's lately there's a new one that I adore. I think it's called Teardown, which is fucking insanely great.
Yeah, I've seen that. I just don't have a PC that could run that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to see what your thoughts are with that, because I feel like there's this huge gap in the industry with. I just feel like it's not a focus anymore, and I kind of wish we would go back to that. And even games like you were saying, like it seems like there's a focus on physics. But even games that, like Red Faction, for instance, I didn't think the graphics were terrible in that game at the time, with the physics being as great as they were.
Right. What I think is, if like the last thing I remember that Sony did like that was this game called Pain, which was one of the first PSN titles where you slingshotted this guy, you know, into the environment, and it was kind of like Jackass meets a physics ragdoll simulation, like
3D Flappy Bird.
Yeah, and what I think you'll find now is less genre and more experiences that are commercial, that marketing thinks they can sell, and within that, I think you can do things like that. I don't think you'll ever have a big budget just physics game again, like a physics fun simulator. You'll have that in the indie space, of course, and in the lower budget space. But I think you might have, hey, I'm just making this shit up. It's a new superhero game, and one of his powers is, he can bounce like a fucking ball, but once he's in that, whatever. And then, you'll see it in the experience. But the idea of just like, this is a physics-based ragdoll simulation we've turned into a game. No, I don't think you'll see that at the first-party level of something like a Sony, unless they do open up like a boutique group.
That's a shame, because I was really hopeful that I don't know. I mean, Red Faction was kind of niche to begin with, but Embracer Group had purchased. I mean, they were part of THQ Volition. They had that IP. I think it somehow spun off. They sold it off to someone else. So Embracer Group has been really good with doing remakes, and they did that Red Faction remastered. So like, shit, yeah, this is the time.
Right.
Coming back, it's happening. I was like, oh yes. So no, I know what you're saying.
I was actually looking up. I was actually looking up to see if Teardown's coming to console. They haven't announced it yet, but I'm sure you can get some fun physics games on console. But yeah, I mean, that's, again, embrace the indies, baby. That's where the juice is these days. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I'm telling you, it's any and everything you could possibly want. It's the craziest thing, but you got to be willing to kind of go to the dark side.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's all I had.
I appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Legends, hey buddy, he's been a member for 17 months. I appreciate it. He says, out of Disney, Apple, and Amazon, who would you want to buy EA? For me, it would be Disney, because they would keep it multi-platform. I definitely do not want Amazon to buy them. Disney interests me because they own ESPN, and I think there's obviously a lot that they could do. I also think possibly you could see Disney going to them and going, the thing is, I don't know what internal teams they have anymore outside of their sports teams, right? So Disney has a lot of properties that could be interesting that EA could do, although they fucked the bed. They shat the bed with Star Wars for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't like the new CEO of Disney, but I have liked what Disney has done since Bob Iger got there in terms of what he's allowed to happen with these places he's purchased in terms of giving them a new shot at life in a lot of ways. So I would go with Disney. Apple doesn't interest me anymore. They used to be incredibly innovative, and now they've just kind of gotten kind of boring. Hey, Jaffe says, Hurt Boa, have you ever accepted cash considerations or material items to push Xbox to your channel? No, but I've said ad nauseum, if they want to send me a check or they want to send me some cool shit, as long as they're okay with me saying, hey, these two things are separate. They sent me this. They want me to tell you this, but here's what I think. I don't know if they would ever agree to that or if my little channel would merit it. But of course, I would shill for Game Pass. I love Game Pass. I adore it. I think it's the most exciting thing happening in the console space in a long time. Not the games. People are like, Microsoft doesn't make good games. I'm not talking about the games. I'm talking about the business model and how it runs the opportunity to create some real innovation in the medium. Dungeon, it's Jaffe. What's up, man? Dungeon.
Yo, hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I wanted to call in, tell you why Game Pass is not really good for the future.
Okay, good.
All right, first of all, I believe Game Pass will lead to an all streaming future. And I believe when you get a game company inch, they take a mile. And by them doing that, if you look at the DLC on stores, majority of the time DLC is not really on sale. And when it is on sale, it's still more expensive than the game itself. And by them putting in an all streaming feature, it's gonna make them be even more anti-consumer. That's what I believe.
Okay, so let me address that. So it will be an all streaming future. That is coming.
Yeah.
Nothing will hold that back. It will be a little longer than I think most people want, but it's not going to be that fucking long. So Game Pass or not, that's coming. I don't know why gamers, assuming you can get a good connection, and again, assuming that 95% of their customers can get a good connection, I don't know why you wouldn't want streaming unless you're a collector. Because you no longer, you know, then it's like going to the movies. It's like, you want to see Star Wars? No, I don't have a subscription to AMC theaters. I can only go to Regal theaters. It's like, you play what you want when it's streaming. You don't have to worry about a console. But that said, though, if Game Pass is successful or not, all these companies would rather go streaming. It's cheaper for them. They have more control. I don't buy this anti-consumer line, though. Any business is anti-consumer in the sense that they want to extract cash for the least value, but enough of a value that you feel good about your purchase and you keep giving them cash beyond the initial purchase. That's business.
I was just letting it be known, though, because...
Well, give me an example of it. What's a company that is consumer friendly to you?
Well, I predominantly play on PlayStation. I got all the systems of PlayStation.
Okay.
I don't play on Switch, but I do got an Xbox One. But on PS3 store, it's ridiculous about the DLC. The season pass is more expensive than the game itself. Season pass for a COD game, $60, but the COD game itself is $20. This is gonna go in the future. You know why it's like that as well?
Yeah, because people keep buying it.
No, because it's only available on the digital store.
It doesn't matter. If you stopped buying it, they would change their ways. Do you know last quarter EA made, and I had to check my figures because I'm like, is Jeff Keighley right about this? $7 billion in microtransactions. Strass Zelnick, who just re-signed his contract with 2K, he only makes all the money he's going to make if he hits the targets for, I forget what they call it in the contract, but the gist was recurring purchases, meaning DLC, microtransactions, things like that. If you gamers, including me, but I don't, would stop buying this shit, they'd stop doing it.
Yeah, I'm not buying microtransactions.
I appreciate you're not, but most people are.
Okay, I just wanted to say that right there. And I also want to call you out. I think you support anti-consumer practices, though.
Give me an example.
Like another. back on PS3, you supported online passcodes.
I sure did.
You tried to stop the pre-owned market by PS3 multiplayer was free. That's a blessing. That's one of the best things that I liked about the PS3.
Okay.
You stop. You and other developers put that in y'all games to help get rid of the pre-owned market.
Yes.
Which is needed. The pre-owned market is needed.
The pre-owned market is not my problem. The pre-owned market is not my customer. Right? They're not. Now, maybe you could argue that one day they will become the customer. Fine. But end of the day, the publishers, or a number of them, tried to get a bite of that apple. And GameStop was like, no. And that was GameStop's right. But game companies were bleeding money. I remember when the producer of God of War 3, which, yes, it was profitable, I was talking to her at a convention. I said, how's it going in terms of sales? And she says, well, obviously the reviews are great. We're into profit. She said, but we got a shit ton of them at a warehouse. I'm like, why? God of War 3? And she's like, yeah, because, people will finish it and sell it back. And then we'll end up having 10 people play God of War 3 off the back of one purchased copy. And it's like, while I agree that that's great for consumers, it's the business's job to figure out a way to be as profitable as they can without upsetting the consumers, right?
And
so
when they try to reach their max profits, they do it by corrupt and greed. It's corrupt and greed. And it's disgusting.
There's two very different things you're talking about. Corruption, they're both disgusting, but one of those things is pure evil, which is corruption. The other thing is, if you want to move towards a more socialist environment, I'd have that conversation with you. But as long as these companies are in a capitalist environment and they have to basically, it's a dog-eat-dog world and everyone's competing like motherfuckers, what do you want them to do? Just go, I'll give you a great example. It's like, I won't give you that example. I'll give you that example later. But look, the thing that customers don't understand is they have all the power in the conversation. And it's so funny to hear a lot of customers push back like, but I want to play it. It's like, okay, well then you're giving up your power because you would rather play Call of Duty Season Pass for $60 than not. And that's fine. But don't blame Activision. They just stuck a price on it. You're the one who said, I accept. Not you, but.
I understand. I just want to say I'm not fully against Game Pass or whatever Sony is doing and what Nintendo is doing, but I feel like it will. I want options in the future. I don't want to be tied down to one particular way to get my games, and that's eventually will lead to streaming. I just feel like Game Pass make streaming come even more faster, and services similar to that.
Let me ask you this: why do you want? I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just curious. Why do you care? If you own a game, like what does it matter to you? Like I'm very excited to watch Stranger Things coming up with my family. We all love the show. I have no desire in my makeup, which doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong, but I don't have the desire to own a Blu-ray of Stranger Things. I'll watch it if I want to watch it again, which I probably won't. It'll be on there until it's not. What does it matter if you own a game?
It's not about owning, it's about finding the best deal. A lot of times I haven't found deals as physical stores for physical media way more accessible than on a digital store. I will admit there's like AAA games on the digital store where I would no way found that price on the digital store. But majority of the times I found all of my games mainly at Best Buy for a great discounted price than on the digital store, and it's hard to find good prices on the digital store majority of the time.
Okay, well, if you're just talking about you get better deals, sure. Although I agree there are some great digital deals all the time. But yeah, okay, that's fair. All right, Dungeon.
And, with the ownership question, I'm able to have more access to it as well. I think with streaming or Game Pass, you got to be tied down to the service. I just buy a game that I want to play, like Skate 3. I play that all the time on my Xbox One. But why would I subscribe to EA Play for that? For a whole year or so on. Like,
how often do you play Skate 3?
Every other day in a week. And I've been playing it since like 2019. Whenever they made it backwards compatible.
All right. Well, yeah. I
Xbox.
mean, look, if more people are like that, then I can understand why there's an uproar. But I think most people kind of consume and move on when it comes to media, be it games or anything else. But I don't know. All right.
I got one more question.
All right, real quick, Dungeon, go.
This is Bacon Magma, by the way, and I just wanted
Okay.
to
Well,
ask
why are you Dungeon then?
I had to come in on another account. I couldn't remember my other account.
Oh, you fucking Bacon Magma. Okay, keep going.
I wanted to ask you, I was looking on the terms and conditions on like these major porn sites, right?
Major
And
porn sites? Porn sites?
Yeah,
Yeah.
major porn sites.
Okay.
And I've seen that they don't allow scat videos on there. And I was just wondering,
Well,
like, is that bad?
scat what? What'd you say? Scat?
Scat videos.
Oh, videos. Scat videos.
I'm trying to figure out is that good or bad, because I'm like,
well, it is a kink. It is, I've never understood it, but so what? That means nothing. I would be stunned if you can't find scat porn. In fact, I'm going to Google it right now. I'll do it off the screen. I'm almost certain you can find scat porn, Bacon Magma. Hang on. Scat porn. Don't hit me up when you guys see it in the chat bar or the search bar. No, it's right here. Pooping, pissing girls, and scat porn videos. Poopygirls.com. Come on, Bacon Magma. You know that shit's there. There's fucking your mother's in it right there. Goodbye, Bacon Magma. Have a good day, you fucking freak of nature, you piece of shit. All right, there he goes. Bacon Magma, fellas. All right. Okay, hang on. Well, fellas, I mean, I was hoping to have a knockdown, drag out fucking debate with somebody about this. But seriously, if you fucking read the Twitter, you would think shit's going to hell in a handbasket. Nobody called in. Nobody called in and was like, I'm passionate about this. Like, yeah. When King Thrash says, let me call in, I can't let you call in. There's a phone number at the top of the screen, Thrash. Just call. I won't let you. How could I do that? How could I do that? There we go. Is this Thrash? Let's see. King Thrash.
What up?
Is this Thrash? Who's calling me at home?
Come on. Oh, shit. This is the number that's up there, bro. I don't know.
I know. Who is this? Who is this?
It's King Thrash. Who else?
I don't know. I don't have a name that comes through on the call waiting. So what's going on, man?
What's good, man? You said you didn't have nobody to debate over this Game Pass, even though you know nothing but rookies are gonna call in.
Well, I just don't understand why people have gotten their panties in a twist on Twitter this week.
FTC. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, a lot of people were being fake about Game Pass to begin with. I could look up all of their game activity and see that they haven't even been using Game Pass, but they've been saying they have been on Twitter, and now all of a sudden people are rejecting that thought and rejecting what Game Pass is. I don't know. It could be a plethora of reasons. Microsoft stopped paying them if they are getting paid, or maybe their job said, "Hey, stop doing this," or
everybody's saying you're too quiet, and I have you turned up all the way. Is there a way you could turn up your?
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll fix it right now. Hold on.
Okay.
How about that? Is that better?
They'll let me know. I can hear you great, but we'll see what they say. Okay, so I mean, look, I imagine if I was Gene, I would take offense to people saying that a real journalist like Gene is taking money from Microsoft to shill. He wouldn't do that, but so if you really believe that Gene decided to tweet that out, there's nothing I can say to convince you, but I can tell you I don't get paid by Game Pass. I would be happy to.
Oh, I've never accused you or anyone. I'm seeing that the possibilities are there. I mean, take Tony Polinko, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Tony Polinko, he's a journalist.
Okay.
He's been big up in Game Pass for I don't know how long. And
you're saying he's been getting cash for so long? Is that what you're saying?
I go to his account. He only has 11K, and he barely played any Game Pass games. Hasn't downloaded Forza Horizon 5. Hasn't downloaded Halo Infinite.
Okay.
Numerous indies he hasn't played.
Well, let me. Okay,
He's big up in Game Pass.
Okay.
But he's not playing it.
Okay.
Why?
Okay. So hang on a second.
He does receive stuff.
Walk through the logic of this with me.
Mm-hmm.
So you're this Tony guy who I know follows me. I've never spoken to him. And Xbox comes to you and says, I want to give you, I don't fucking know, let's say they give him $500 a month to 10 times a week tweet something nice about Game Pass. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
No, it's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so what are you saying?
I'm saying that the possibility of numerous things are out there.
Well,
but what's guaranteed is that he's not being honest about Game Pass.
Okay, great. Well, so then you basically, if you feel that way, then you can check Tony off the list.
No, that's facts. It's not how I feel. This is the truth.
No. Your facts.
We can look at what games he's playing, and he's not utilizing Game Pass at all.
Your facts are that you don't have evidence that he uses Game Pass. I would believe that you have those facts. Let's assume that's the case.
I have evidence that he does not use Game Pass. Yes.
Okay, regardless, then what you do is you basically take that individual off and of your list of people that you trust in the media, and you move on with your life. But what?
But that's not the question, though. The question is, why are people now changing, Tony Palinko included, right? Are changing their thoughts about Game Pass, right?
You would have to ask, Tony. So Tony follows me. Tony, are you out there? You should call in. I'd love to hear. But he said, because he wanted some AAA games, and obviously they've pushed their AAA games.
But how true is that, though, David? Because he hasn't downloaded Halo.
I don't know, but why do I care? But why do you care?
Because those are the only two AAA games Microsoft released in the past 2 years.
No, what I'm saying is, why do you care? What does that prove? I mean, let's say you're right about everything.
Because he's a gaming. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because he's a gaming journalist, and there's value in what he says.
Not anymore. If what he says. Yeah, but if what he said is a lie, then he's no longer valuable.
Come on, Jack. You gotta let me finish.
All right.
You gotta let me get my point out. How you gonna interrupt my point?
I thought I had your point. Go ahead.
He's a gaming journalist, right? And there's trust. There's a certain amount of trust that we are supposed to have in gaming journalists. There's a certain amount of weight that gaming journalists has in the things that they say. If you don't believe me, look up Metacritic. There's a certain weight that they have in what they say. So once we find that they start lying about the things that they say, then who else is lying? And now we're looking at all these journalists, and we're seeing insane. For example, the main director at IGN made a whole list about games he was going to play. He had a whole Microsoft announced 12 games. He said, I can't wait to download 9 of them. The man didn't download a single one of them. So it's like, we don't have proof that they're getting paid by anybody, but why lie? Like, what's the lie about?
What do you think? What do you think it's about?
So we can only assume that you're getting paid for it, because that would be the paid to promote these services. Then it'll be understandable. Otherwise, then what the fuck are you doing?
Okay, but let me ask you that. So let's assume for a moment. And I don't have any evidence. The only thing is I don't know Tony. I know Gene a little bit. I don't think Gene's a liar. But
I don't know Gene. I haven't investigated Gene.
Regardless of that, though, Gene's hardcore as they come. But regardless of that, though,
I'm pretty sure
if you're Tony, and I'll tell you what Tony said. So let's say you're Tony and you've been taking a check from Microsoft for a while. Okay.
I'm not saying that he is taking a check. I'm not
let's
saying
say
that,
he's lying.
We're just going on the assumption. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's. Right. If that were the case, wouldn't he be in a better position to just say nothing and unsubscribe? But instead, he tweeted out to his 10,000 plus followers, I unsub from Game Pass. The service is great, but there aren't any AAA exclusives to compel me to stay. I'll be back when the titles start dropping. So that's shitting the bed of Microsoft. If you actually are being paid, they would say, first off, if he's being paid by Microsoft, he wouldn't have to sub or unsub. It would be free, right? So this would be an aggressive tweet.
That's the communication that he's giving the public, that he is subbed to Game Pass.
Oh, okay, sure.
That he is subbed to it and that he enjoys. That's
great.
His
So why then, if he has made money off Microsoft, why would he tweet this? Why not just stop tweeting about it? If somebody was paying me $1 million a week to talk about McDonald's,
I got an answer for that.
I'd just stop talking about McDonald's.
I got an answer for that. First of all, he got a check mark and he likes the attention. First of all, he's a journalist and needs the attention for people to come to click on his articles.
Okay.
Right. So there's money in that as well. Just being controversial, period, as a journalist, which we see every day. That's to get people to click on your shit.
Well, he's not asking you to click on anything. There's no article.
Wait. Let me. Well, no. But they're going to want to see that upcoming article as to why he left Game Pass, right?
Okay.
Right? Wouldn't that get more traffic? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Twitter only has so many characters that you can describe, right?
If you're a game journalist and you burn the bridge with Microsoft simply for one story, if he's getting paid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm getting at, though. Day before, there was a report that the FTC is looking into influencers who are getting paid and not saying that they're getting paid.
That is not the report. That is not what it said. That is absolutely...
What does it say? What does it say?
I'll tell you exactly what it says. I will enlighten you.
Go ahead,
So about 6 years ago, Microsoft got sued, and because they were paying... They were paying people to talk up their products that were in social media, YouTube videos, things like that. They got sued. The FTC came in and said, here's a list of rules and regulations to guarantee that you can no longer trick the public. Okay?
Okay.
Then last week, the FTC came in and said, we feel we need to make those rules more stringent now. And coming down the line, 6 months, 8 months, 6 weeks, there will be addendums to that list of regulations that we will hope either will become legal or will regardless become influential for people who are influencers and things like that. To say that now the FTC is looking into influencers, no, they're not. There's not some investigation going on about Tony Polanco or whatever. It's
I never said Tony Polanco. I never said they're investigating Tony Polanco.
They're not investigating anybody.
What he could be making money off of, right? They're trying to make new rules to cause new fees and fines.
Yes.
For people who aren't reporting properly, right?
Absolutely, but that's not what you said. You said they're investigating influencers as if they're sort of
the influencers
Elliot Ness, right? Going after Al Capone or something. They're just saying, hey,
influencers were in that list that they're adding their new rules to, right?
They were always in that list.
Well, they're looking further into it to make it more stringent.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, well then now they're trying to back out while they can, because they don't want to have this problem. They are journalists. He's a journalist. He works for somebody that makes him money. Maybe he can get in trouble with his job if they find out that he was taking something from Microsoft.
Man, all I can tell you is, is there a world?
I'm only giving you the view of what gamers are seeing.
But
you know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you
but the
fiction.
gamers that are seeing that are morons. Okay, because what they've done... let me finish.
When you got journalists... Okay, my bad, go ahead.
What those gamers have done then is they have taken the whole Occam's razor idea, which is, the most obvious solution is usually what's really happening. At least I believe that's how you articulate it. And they've said, yeah, but we're going to put together this crazy conspiracy that we have no evidence of, and we're going to say that we think that is what's happening. You got to jump through so many hoops.
No. This is where you mix up. This is where you get it fucked up, right? Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because you just mentioned it. It's not outlandish to think this way when Microsoft has already done it. It's not a conspiracy to think that way when we know that Microsoft thinks that way. We have journalists out there. We have people out there. Have you seen that video with that lady when she was like, "I don't talk about PlayStation. I don't like PlayStation because Microsoft gives me Xboxes, and I got 7 Xboxes in my garage, and Sony has never given me nothing, so I will never talk about them. Forget Xbox and all that." Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I didn't see it, but I believe
I'll link you the video, boss.
I didn't say it doesn't exist. I absolutely believe it. There are influencers.
How is it?
Do you know what? You know what Sony did?
Theory. It's not outlandish if it's already happened, though, Dave. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're not understanding that. You're not understanding the nuance. Listen to me. I'm not suggesting that Microsoft, Sony, every company has not paid in products or actual money to get people to say nice things. When I was at Sony,
it happens every day.
It happens every day at every company. When I was at Sony,
we're not talking about everybody though. Our focus is on Xbox. Of course, every company has done it, but let's not say let's not do the whataboutism. To everyone else, the focus here is Game Pass. Your title is why does everybody hate Game Pass, and we're going to stay on that title.
And what I am saying to you is that you are painting a picture of something as if it is insidious, when what I am telling you is every company within the realm of what they can get away with pays in some way or the other to get people to say nice shit. When I was with Sony, and we would have these big parties, and they would have famous people show up. At the time, it was Paris Hilton and whatever. You think Paris Hilton showed up because she wanted a free PlayStation?
No.
That's right.
No.
That's exactly right.
Not.
So they get away with whatever they will get away with, and it would not.
Is Paris Hilton a journalist?
Paris Hilton is not a journalist, as far as I know.
Is it her job to uphold the honest truth to the people who read to you?
Okay, again, you're making so many assumptions. You're making an assumption that if you call yourself... Okay, show me why Tony Polanco is a journalist and you are not. You have a website, you have a podcast, you talk about games, you reach as many, if not more people than Tony does. Tony, does he have to have a degree? Like, what makes him a journalist but you not one?
He's hired by a company to write for them.
Yeah, but that's there's no
legal, there's no reviews and do all that.
But there's no legal aspect that demands he do something a certain way. Thus, he calls himself a journalist.
He goes to IGN. He has a press pass. Not IGN. He goes to E3s. He has press passes. He talks to these higher ups in gaming. I can't go in there and do that. I can get a press pass when I go to.
He writes for a company called Tom's Guide that has fewer followers on Twitter than I do. If I started,
they have a press. Does he or does he not have a press pass?
I don't know, but I can get you a press pass.
He has a press pass.
I'll get you a press pass. You want a press pass? You act like it's not the gold. It's not the golden ticket to Wonka's factory.
Real question. I mean, we should both get together, make a website, and get our own press passes going, and do real interviews and have the real words of gaming being.
I do that every day
because journalists aren't doing it. That's the problem.
Some of them are, and some of them are not.
Some of them are. 100% of them aren't saying shit though.
Well, that's why some.
You know what I'm saying? Some of them are. Some of them are doing great work. Some of them are doing bad work. But 100% of them aren't outing each other on doing bullshit. None of them.
What?
So, regardless of it, they have a brotherhood going on, and so do gamers. Whether people like it or not, so do gamers. Gamers have a brotherhood going on, to where it's not even really about the console war. We just tired of being lied to, Jack. That's it.
No one's lying to you. Do you know?
Oh yes, they are. They're clearly lying, bro. Look,
Tony may be lying to you. Tony may be lying to you.
3 weeks ago, he said Xbox Game Pass is the greatest deal in gaming. 3 weeks later, I am unsubscribing from Game Pass. What has changed?
You really want me to answer that question? What has changed in the last 3 weeks in Xbox? They've said Starfield and that vampire game is not coming out this year. That's what changed.
Okay. So why didn't he unsubscribe when Halo got deleted for a year? They didn't have no AAA games for an entire year.
Maybe he's run out of patience. I don't fucking know.
You didn't run out of patience? Okay, what about the drought before that, where it was 2 years after there was no AAA games? 2 years after Gears 5 came out, there was no AAA game.
I don't know.
Okay, we all don't, right? But we can all look and see what they say. We can only go by what they say and the activity, the moves that they make. We can only do that, right? We can't nobody has definitively said.
Do you wake up? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a girlfriend or a wife? Or a boyfriend?
You know I got a wife.
Okay. So when you want to have sex with her, do you call Tony and say, Tony, your word means everything to me. Can I fuck my wife? Or do you just fuck your wife? After she consents, of course.
First of all, I got a black wife. So she fucks me. But,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I'm not going to call anybody.
All I'm saying is you're holding up Tony like he's the fucking Pope. It's like I don't give a shit if.
I'm not. I'm just saying. But like I said earlier in this conversation, he is a journalist. His word has heavier weight. and there's a level of trust that's supposed to be behind those words. And
He's not reporting on Watergate.
It's not just Tony Palenko. It's not just Tony Palenko. Look at the Survivor people. Look at those people. Look at
the
look
Survivor
at these guys
people.
Who have power in the people who do Survivor. You know what I mean?
The TV show Survivor.
Survivor, whatever they call, right? They are. There's clear bias and inconsistencies in what they say.
Survivor, the
Clear
TV show.
biases and inconsistencies. Huh? No, it's a website that is on Metacritic that affects review scores on Metacritic. The same people who gave Horizon Forbidden West a 6.5, but gave Crackdown an 8.
What do you care, man?
I'm a gamer.
I'm a gamer too.
Why wouldn't I care? Okay, so why don't you care? The question ain't why do I care? The question is why don't you?
The answer is easy. Because anytime
I believe
I don't get to
gaming,
answer.
bro.
I don't get to
love
answer the
gaming,
question.
dog.
I don't get to
gaming-
answer the
gaming has
question.
saved my
I don't
life.
get to answer the question.
All right.
The
No,
answer
you do, but I'm just wondering, bro. Like
The
why
answer-
why would a gamer ask a gamer that question?
because
Why
a
do I
real
care?
gamer knows how to look at someone and go, "Oh, you don't represent my views. Done. I'm done with you."
Yeah. We definitely, but we've been doing that for decades, though, Jeff. We are tired. So now we finna say something about it. Why console war go against each other in our opinions when it comes to Xbox and PlayStation between gamers when the real enemy are the people who are lying the most about gaming?
There's no enemy.
They need to hear from us too.
Mhm.
So yes, I care what they say, and they gonna care what I say, whether they like it or not.
Nobody gives a fuck what you say or I say or
Oh,
they
well, shit, I blew up the
they
internet
say.
2-3 times this week.
Yeah,
I blew
you
it up
did
2 or
blow
3
up the
times
internet.
this week.
I was worried because missiles were coming in from Russia and you were fucking blowing up the internet. We couldn't get communications out.
Hey,
come on.
I'm causing peace out here.
King Thrash,
You know
do
what
me
I'm
a
saying?
favor.
Because
Let me
there isn't too many people
listen.
who are willing to go up against anybody and talk about it.
When you tonight are bent over the bed and you're getting pegged by Mrs. King Thrash, Queen Thrash.
Why do I get pegged?
You just said she's fucking you. You said she's fucking you.
See, that's what I'm saying. This is what I mean. I got a black wife, bro.
While
What
she's
I mean-
fucking
what I mean
the
by
shit
that,
out of
it
you,
ain't got nothing to do
while
with
she's
pegging.
fucking the
It got
shit
to
out of
do
you,
with- it
and
got to do with
she's
she's
slapping
ripping my
that
clothes
ass.
off.
She's slapping that ass, and she's
ripping my
saying,
clothes off.
"Say you love Phil
you ain't never
Spencer,
been-
bitch.
You ain't never been.
Say
ain't-
you
hey,
love
you
Phil
ain't-
Spencer.
you
In
ain't
and
never
out,
been
in and out,
congratulated,
in and out."
Jeff,
What?
Jeff, you ain't never been congratulated like that. You ain't never been just pushed on the bed and have your clothes ripped off and she just get on top and handle you. You ain't never had that situation before. I get it, but I get that. All right?
I would say that your wife has probably used her pegging dildo more than Tony has used his Game Pass account. I will agree with.
We are a black couple. There are no toys needed. All the equipment is there and ready to go physically built.
So she has a penis.
You feel me? No.
Well, how's she gonna fuck you?
I do. Because no, what you mean? She know how to rock. Nigga. See, look. See, I would.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go now. I gotta go. I'm too old. That's right. I'd have a heart attack. That's right. All right. See you, man. See you, Thrash.
All right, man.
Goodness gracious. I don't agree with him on so many things. All right. Anyway. Listen. Topaz Girl says that's bullshit. I know plenty of black women that use toys with their partners. That's right. Fellas, that's the debate. That's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. Oh, let me answer this question. Jaffe, how about God of War Ragnarok new video? God of War Ragnarok, you think it's a downgrade? I mean, was there a new video recently? There was a video that came out a couple of days ago last week when they were talking about the accessibility issues, and in that they showed Ragnarok from 6-8 months ago and a new one, and I clearly thought the new one looked like I don't know, upgrade, but it looked a lot better. I don't know what constitutes an upgrade for you, but it was a hell of a lot better, but it still looked good before. So, yeah, same content, updated visuals, says Brian East. Yeah, I thought it looked really good. It looked really good. Legend says the whole thing is that journalists are done shilling for Game Pass when Xbox keeps going back on their word, and journalist fan bases are turning on them and shilling for Game Pass is not as important. Well, again, if what you're saying is these are journalists that are actually taking money from Microsoft, then that's a horrible thing. And they should know better, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Not influencers, but journalists. I think that's terrible. But there's no evidence of that, right? I mean, I don't get paid by Microsoft, but I talk about it all the time because I love it. Why would you assume? There's just no evidence of that. It doesn't matter if it's money or gifts. They still have to disclose it if you're a good journalist. If you're not, you know what the story should be? The story should not be about Xbox and Game Pass. The story should be, wow, there's a real corrupt journalist out there that takes money and gifts from companies he reports on and doesn't let us know that. Good to know. Boom. He's off our radar. That's it. That's it. That's what a journalist risks when they do those sorts of things. But that's the only story there, that it's like, oh, I don't have any evidence that Tony did this, but if it came out that it was proof that Tony did it, there was proof that Tony did it, then yeah, he would be a guy that I unfollow and go, yeah, you're not on my radar anymore. I can't trust you. That's it. I'm sure they have. Brett Williams says Microsoft has paid journalists in the past. It's not out of the question. Yeah. As I've said before, in my time in the industry, I never once saw Sony pay anybody for reviews or nice words. But if it were to come to light that they had, I'd go, oh, okay. Not unless it was illegal. I don't think they would do anything illegal, at least not consciously. But if PR was like, oh, you mean we can do X, Y, and Z and we're going to get favorable coverage? Okay. I'm not saying I like it, but that's business, right? I mean, I don't agree with it, but that's business. And it's not just Microsoft. But that said, though, I haven't seen any evidence of it in any of these cases people are bringing up. None of your business says if King Thrash is a gamer, be careful, he'll call back in, and cares, then why does he never have a complaint about Sony? He'll call back in and say, I want to tell you why I never, and then you'll hear from the background, Thrash, get in here. I got the dildo warmed up and Golden Girls is on. You know that's my prime time in all kinds of ways. Living Legend, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, have you played V Rising? Curious what you think. It's the definition of digital crack. V Rising is a brand new game. It is a vampire game. And I want to make sure I'm getting them right. This is not the one that just dropped on Xbox. That's the one that's kind of like a click thing, right? But there's a vampire game on Steam. I think they did like over 3 million sales or 1 million sales in 2 days or something. It's a huge hit. And I was looking into getting it, and then I saw a bunch of people say that it's good, but it's not really vampire-y. It's kind of like you just run around the forest collecting resources. But I'll look more into it. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Jaffe, you can always pull the no one cares and I don't care card when he gets owned. What's dumb about you, Hurt Boa, is... Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll put a poll up. I can be wrong all the time. Is King Thrash correct in his views about Game Pass? I don't know. And I'll say yes or no. The poll is up. You tell me. Let's see what the chat thought after it was a 20-minute call. They heard me. They heard Thrash. Mr. Orange says, thank you, buddy. He says, I got 5 on it. Show, smoke, whatever. Oh my God, Mr. Orange, I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Orange says, I got 5 on it. I don't know what that is, buddy. I don't know what that is, buddy. Joe Munger says they don't get paid. They're just pandering to their followers. Well, yeah. I mean, if their followers take it, sure. Oh, you guys are full of shit. You guys are full of shit. It's 50-50. Come on. Come on. He's not making any sense. He's not making any fucking sense. God damn you morons. You're all morons. All right. fellas, that is gabbing and oh, you got $5 on the weed. $5 on the weed. You got 5 on it. Smoke show. Are you asking me to smoke weed on the show right now? Is that what you're asking? Or you're asking me to... I don't understand. Oh, it's a song. Okay. I would smoke weed, but my carts are empty. I don't have any carts. I got to get some on Wednesday. Jaffe, you can't answer why Microsoft declined Marvel's IP. I don't fucking know. The story that's going around is that they wanted to focus on their own IP. Stupid. But that was dumb. That I'll bang up on Microsoft for. But look, man, Sony wasn't even jumping for joy about Spider-Man. They had to fight to get Spider-Man greenlit. Isn't that the craziest thing? I mean, I'm compromised because I've loved Spider-Man with all my heart and soul since I was 4. And I read my first Spidey comic. So maybe I'm the wrong guy to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they turned that shit down, you out of your goddamn mind? You out of your goddamn mind? Will I confront Gene Park, Bacon says, about these recent allegations? No, I won't. Because there are no allegations that you made up, that you pulled out of your anus. Gene Park literally said, oh, I'm unsubscribing from Game Pass till there's some games that I want. Isn't that what everybody says that's great about Game Pass or sub-services? You can unsubscribe when you don't want them. If you have evidence that Gene has taken money or gifts from Microsoft in exchange for saying nice things about Xbox, yeah, sure, then I'll ask him. But I don't think you have that evidence. What's funny to me about this is you're more inclined to believe that 2 journalists, one who is a journalist at one of the greatest newspapers in the history of newspapers, the Washington Post, and one who's just like, whatever, some game journalist, at the same time, you're willing to believe that it was because checks stopped coming or gifts stopped coming from Microsoft at the same time. And both of these guys chose to burn the bridge with Microsoft and literally tweet about it, right? Most people, if they're taking checks and they don't want you to know about it, they'd go, okay, the checks aren't coming anymore. I'm going to stop tweeting about your product. That's how it works. Why would you publicly shame or attack the very company that I assume you would want to have a deal with down the road? But that's more logical versus Gene and Tony hearing the news. The news comes out that Starfield's delayed. The news comes out that whatever the vampire game, Red Blood or something, is delayed. Maybe or maybe not, they are like, Jesus Christ, if they can't even ship that, this is going to be a year before Game Pass becomes what they promise. What's more probable, that that's what motivated them to unsubscribe, or the conspiracy that you guys are peddling? Come on now. Jaffe, if Phil Spencer contacts you to talk about them positively for a bag of cash, will you take it or not? I would absolutely take it as long as I can make clearer that they've given me a bag of cash and to talk about Xbox. If they want to run an ad, I'd run an ad. If they want me to read an ad, I'd read an ad. But if they want me to present as someone that has a view and I can't tell you that, then no, I would not do that. Why would they be subscribed to Game Pass? That's none of your business in May for a game that wasn't going to launch till November. That is proof it is nothing more than a public temper tantrum over Starfield being delayed. I mean, they've been subbed to Game Pass forever. Brian E says that is the appropriate action. Yeah, of course. I would never sacrifice for whatever it's worth, my integrity, whatever it's worth. Who does that? I mean, some people do. And if your kids are starving, sure. But short of that, no, I would not. I would not. Fellas, that's Gabbing and Games. I'll be back with an actual proper show tomorrow. But this is just a focused debate. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we talked about it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Listen to me. If you like the show, give it a like, give it a sub, tell your friends, consider being a member. If you're listening after the fact and you want a guaranteed answer from me consider a super thanks. That I'll see it, I'll respond to it, or don't. But I appreciate it regardless. You just being here, being part of our community. Members, thank you. Mods, thank you. New members, thank you. Super chats, thank you. All the good conversation, thank you. All the good calls, thank you as well. I really appreciate it. My next stream is definitely tomorrow, BB. Whether or not I stream tonight or put some videos up tonight really kind of depends on the energy I have once I eat after I wrap this up. Be well, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.